Before we get into talking about today's games, a word from all of us at the Overwatch League. We, as gamers and as humans, have to stand up against racism, against inequality, and against injustice. We must hold our entire community accountable, hold our friends accountable, and hold ourselves accountable. Activision Blizzard has made a donation to organizations who are united in this effort, with a goal of raising over $4 million across the company to help provide transformative opportunities to Black Americans and to fight against systemic inequality.
有可能，他可能会觉得有需要交出来，
必须要交，不交是过不去的。
一拳敲掉了，
但是
야, 잘 들어갔죠. 공격이 너무 잘 들어갔어요.又要轮到 Face，
不然打两个头，
哇，怎么会突然冒一个3个啊，4个啊！
Joined by Wolf. Before we get into things, do want to acknowledge the powerful words there spoken by Zoe. We all do need to stand together and stop systemic racism, make sure that everybody is treated equally. And watching here from in Korea, not being able to be a part of the protests back in the United States does sadden me, but keep up the good work, keep being peaceful, and let's make some real change in the world.
Yep. Always got to focus on what you can do to make the world a better place and make the future a better place. But we got to talk about the present now, Achilleos. Overwatch League is back, and you and I are back in Korea. A lot has changed since we have been back here in Seoul.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're glad to see your girlfriend.
I don't have a girlfriend anymore. But it's okay, because I have a wife. That is right, guys. Since returning here to Korea, I have joined the married man meta, and it's really exciting to finally talk about that. But I'm not going to go ahead and soak up the limelight here. Just wanted to kind of slide that in. Now it's time to focus on our matches here. Starting things off, we're going to have the Shanghai Dragons going up against the London Spitfire. Shanghai, of course, are APAC champions for the May Melee. Now looking to see if they can get back-to-back championship wins here in the month of June.
Yeah, and the starting lineup for the London Spitfire comes with no real surprises, right? You've got Glister and Aldo bringing in the DPS line. You've got Jungmak and Bernard on the tank line, Hailey and Sanguinar on the support. So your normal six. Bernard has become, kind of a fixture now on the flex tank. It feels like they're not really subbing him out all too much anymore.
Yeah.
And they come in as the massive underdogs here, again, against the Shanghai Dragons, and I think even though they've improved a lot, their roster, remains the same. I think there's still a big experience and mechanical gap between these two squads.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this, a lot of people probably looking at the matchup and saying, oh, well, this should be a pretty easy 3-0. But we do have to take a look at the starting six for the side of the Shanghai Dragons. There is somebody, a key fixture missing from this squad, and that is going to be their resident Lucio player. Shanghai Dragons tweeting that he is currently under the weather with a cold. They are monitoring his situation to make sure that it is just a cold. But for now, we will have Luffy starting.
For those of you guys not familiar with Luffy, he's actually been around for a really long time. Originally on Kongdu Panthera way back in the day. He's been a main support player for a really long time, but also known for flexing, playing Soldier 76. Has also played flex support. Like, he's played a little bit of everything. He's a very strong player, and one you should definitely not underestimate, even though he's coming in as a substitute today.
Yeah, for sure. So still should be a very big force to be reckoned with there for the side of the Shanghai Dragons. So, London Spitfire, you've had this break after the May Melee, a couple weeks off to try and get situated, build up on the synergy. Realistically, how do you approach taking a victory over Shanghai here today?
I mean, I think you really just have to launch the footage from Shanghai, and I think you have to build compositions around this week's hero pool. And there's no Sombra this week, so I think that makes it a lot easier if you're a kind of rookie team like London Spitfire is to prepare strategies, because Sombra is so dominant across so many different types of metas that you kind of just have to play around her no matter what, and Shanghai are a great Sombra team. I think the fact that she's not a factor here anymore means that you can really play to Glister's strengths. You know, we could see a lot of potential dive with the Tracer. We could see Widowmaker, especially on Busan, which is going to be our starting map. We'll get more into the map details later. But I gotta say, like, I think if you're really gonna take Shanghai down, you've got to take it map by map, step by step, and build a unique composition for this week's hero pool. Because there's no Sombra, I think there's so many more options to do that.
Yeah, we also don't have, just to go through the rest of it, we don't have the Echo, the Diva, or the Brigida in the meta this, for these next 2 weeks. So there's going to be a lot more time for the teams to try and, play around with these compositions and see what is the most superior in the specific scenarios and the specific maps that they will be playing on. You and I were kind of talking about it during the rehearsal. Maybe we get to see some Widowmaker coming through. Glister versus DM always sounds pretty damn exciting to me. So with Busan coming out as our first map, it does give a lot of leeway for that potential matchup to happen.
Yeah, I think there's certainly a really good chance that we do see that Widowmaker duel. I think a lot of people are predicting to see a little bit of McCree in this double shield meta that we're very likely going to see, because he's so versatile. Tracer's still available, Brigida's removed, so Tracer becomes very powerful in that regard. So having McCree as not only extra long-range poke on some of these open maps like Busan is nice, but then you have that extra ability to kind of peel for your teammates, and you've got that extra safety net of having the flashbang. So yeah, no Diva makes it easier to play Widowmaker, especially on more tiered maps. You go to maps like Gibraltar later down the line. I think Widowmaker is going to be very powerful there, but in a situation where, it's a little bit more open, I think McCree is a great choice.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what these guys land on. We have been having some, wild and crazy comps come through during the May Melee. That was mostly, during the time when we did not have any hero restrictions whatsoever, but I'm hoping that with the 2 weeks, the 2-week changes coming in rather than week to week for the hero pools, we get some more looseness in the compositions that can be coming through from all of the teams that will be playing, here in the June tournament. So I'm excited to see what these guys land on and whether or not London Spitfire can take up the sling here in this David versus Goliath story and throw the stone straight and true at the giant that is the Shanghai Dragons. Because, like I said, they're going to be looking for those back-to-back championships. They have been absolutely on a tear as of late. Maybe one questionable loss there in the last month, but for the most part has just been nothing but dominant.
Yeah, I mean, they had a rough start against Seoul as well in the grand finals, but they were able to power back through and end up taking the series, which is almost more impressive than anything else. But you joked to me earlier, it'd almost be like the most Shanghai thing ever if they suddenly lost a close series to London Spitfire on our first day back. And I think it is possible, but I think we should definitely go into this expectations being if London takes any maps at all, that's a huge win for them, because there's such a gulf between these teams right now in terms of results.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as close as they can make this series, it's just going to be better for them looking down the line and the continued growth of that young squad. But we are ready to jump into our first map here in the month of June for the Overwatch League. So let's go ahead and head to Busan. And as we can see, we are going to be starting off on Sanctuary.
It's pretty surreal for me, Achilleos. This is the first time I've done a professional esports broadcast, like my main job, a premier tournament from my room here in Seoul. And this is where I sit, this is where I practice Overwatch, this is where I take notes. And I know everyone's been broadcasting from home for a while, but you and I are actually home now. And it's a pretty surreal feeling. And it's cool that the internet allows us to do this.
The internet is a wonderful thing, even if it is just a series of tubes. We've done a lot with it, and a lot of it for the greater good. But here we go. Round one, getting ready to kick off. We already see that Widowmaker from Glister ready to go, although on that Symmetra as well. So see if this is just going to be for the TP forward, and it is. Instead, he's going to be swapping over onto the Tracer, and here it is, the matchup that we were kind of teasing. Yeah. DM versus Glister.
This is the best place to play Widowmaker of the 3 map types within Busan, because you have the most wide spaces to hit things like this. Okay. And that's already Luffy down.
And already a very solid start here for Glister. London Spitfire, we'll see if this is going to translate into them getting the point. For now, Fearless is sitting here, getting slowly topped up by those Orbs of Harmony from Izayaki. And with Luffy rejoining, they might just be able to push back. J-Mac going to be eliminated, played into the back line, looking for Hiley. Takes him low, but he cannot get that one clip. But you can see the support coming through. So they do manage to keep that Zenyatta alive and in the fight. He is falling significantly further behind Izayaki, however, when it comes down to that Transcendence charge time. Shanghai Dragons now have the points, so London Spitfire have to try and advance towards them, and that is going to be increasingly difficult to try and take the point when you are going up against a Transcendence to just keep everybody alive. There's no bionates here for London.
It's going to be tough, but I think that their time to strike is now, as you were saying. Look at this huge flank here from Boyd. It's actually going to do a ton of damage, and I don't think the Spitfire can break through right now. Look at the pulse damage as well. They just can't approach the point right now, so Trance is going to finish. As you say, Izayaki is so close to it. Thunder is just going to have to try to bait ultimates.
That's going to be the Gravitic Flux coming through, but Void going to be stunned out of it, so they do not get that slam damage, which is good for Spitfire as the Immortality field was already taken down. Now the window going to be coming through. Void goes ahead, uses the kinetic grasp, gets quite a bit of shielding stacked up, and just continues to bounce those spheres around the corner, continuing to build up towards that next ultimate, which, you know, Benar is still trying to get there himself. 56% now. Discord trying to hug in behind that shield, but just cannot do so. He and Sanguinar now. J-Mac as well will fall. Front line broken down, everybody else under fire. He's going to have to try and exit, but based on where they're at, it's just not going to be allowed to happen.
Shanghai have the Transcendence that we were talking about earlier still online. Blood and DM synergy, you know, it's a new duo on the DPS, but they look great together on these two heroes. You know, we thought maybe if we'd see them together, it'd be Widow Pharah, but it's actually going to be the Tracer that Fleta picks up, obviously, in this meta that we have right now, this mini hero pool meta. But is hiding from a flank here. They still hold Trance. London Spitfire are going to have to match Trance. I think they have to try to, on their approach, Transcend second and get a big Gravitic Flux. It's going to be so hard to take this back.
Yeah, now Pulse Bomb ready, looking for an opportunity to stick. He's using that Infra Sight to keep tabs on everybody on the side of London Spitfire. They, however, are able to spot them, obviously, as Glisters is just now going to be running out, but at 93% into the backline goes Fleta, takes down Hiley. That is already catastrophic. Now Aldo is going to be eliminated as well. They nearly pop Izayaki, but he holds onto the Transcendence. Knew that he was not going to be eliminated. Pulse Bomb lobbed in by Fleta, not going to be able to find anything, but it doesn't matter. The cleanup continues to come through left, right, and center from the Shanghai Dragons, and in dominant fashion, they shut down London in the first round of Busan.
It's a hot and cold composition when you're running Tracer with a double shield comp, because Tracer's either doing a ton of damage in the backline and you're crushing it, or your Tracer isn't doing as much, you can't move forward. And so as a result, when you fall so behind on ultimates like that, like Bernard having his Gravitic Flux so much later and not even really being able to have it there to re-aggress onto the point, things like that mean that Hiley is kind of guaranteed to have to use his Trance to attack the point. If he has to do that, then Izayaki gets a guaranteed second Trance, so you don't want that. So you kind of have to tiptoe around all these things, because you're not playing to get the 1% and take the point once. You're playing to actually win the ult economy war while doing so. So even though they weren't able to do so, and they didn't use all of their ultimates in that last fight, they were playing for the bigger picture. It just didn't work out.
No, it did not. Let's see how take two goes, though, for London. Just going to be going back over to the classic main Reaper, as DM going to be piloting that Ashe. No surprise, as this is going to be a bit more close quarters. So picks that one up, but so far it will be London Spitfire going for that Death Ball, just charging at the Shanghai Dragons, and they clean them up. Glister picking up 3 there on the back end, and although building up to nearly 50% of that Blizzard, you can see already Fleta is going to be swapping to match. Fearless, however, respawning, still going to be sticking through with that Orisa.
I wonder, too, about the sticking with the Ashe here. I mean, she doesn't have a lot of line of sight. She's halfway to a Bob, but even the Bob is going to be hard to get into a position to do damage with right now with London Spitfire's positioning and the ability to Ice Wall here. So I don't know if the Ashe has a place here. If they break through, certainly she will have a huge amount of potential. Dynamite can be quite strong in these situations, too, but breaking through is the hardest part.
Yep, that's going to be the wall coming up, and they did not corner check to spot Glister around the side. Shatter going to be dropped in, manages to find a couple targets, and the cleanup starts to come through. Wiping the floor with them in return here is the London Spitfire as they maintain control, currently about to hit 35%.
And I mean, this is the problem. I mean, DM doesn't do a ton of damage. He gets 35% ult charge, you know, from that last engagement. Doesn't get a Bob. And as you were saying, the biggest part was the positioning of Glister. They didn't see him. They took so much damage from him even without his ultimate. The wall here.
Wall. Yeah, wall comes up, blocks the fire strike, and here the window through, however, from Hiley. So they do manage to push through. Immortality Field going to be taking another
Fire
bomb,
strike,
charged in, but the fire strike from J-Mac goes straight through that Amp Matrix and cuts them down. 3 kills picked up with 1 ability. That is some incredible value. See Bob now going to be taking his leave.
This is rough.
As Spitfire wait for their respawns. DM does manage to find a pick up on the Glister that gets rid of 1 big threat, but is that enough for them to get to the point? They're currently trying to make their way over as 75% gets ready to roll through, but J-Mac finds another
They
kill.
need to regroup here, Achilles, and they're not.
Shatter dropped in, goes straight into the barriers. It doesn't net them much. Sound barrier out from Sanguinar in response to the Gravitic Flux from Void. DM under fire, and J-Mac claims another one with the fire strike. It's just been pinpoint accuracy from him with these fire strikes thus far. Shield is going to be broken. Goes quite low, but they managed to keep him up. Death Blossom over on the side takes down Luffy. Could not keep himself alive, and somebody needs to tag the point, but I don't think anybody can. No, they cannot. An equal show of dominance here from the London Spitfire. 100-0 after being 100-0.
I mean, this was a compositional problem. If you get the point first with Ashe, she has so many sightlines. She can chip away at anyone who tries to come out of those choke points, but if you don't get it first, you struggle to get out. The Bob isn't useful in most of those situations. Take a look at Junak here. I think it's going to be the fire strike, if I'm not mistaken. Walls up, and there's the fire strike. He was actually hiding to the left before for a potential penny. He's actually been in really nice spots. His positioning's been pretty sick throughout Busan, even when they did get 100-0. But going back to what I was saying really quick as we head into this one, we are going to see, actually I'm just going to scrap that entirely. Let's talk about Fleta DM on the Pharaoh Widow. Shanghai Dragons' most successful composition last year, but it wasn't on the roster back then. It was Ding on the Pharaoh. But this is an unstoppable duo in theory, one of the greatest Pharaohs and one of the greatest Widows together on Shanghai Dragons, a team that's familiar with this composition. This is terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how it's going to be executed here. Obviously, there are going to be differences. We, of course, have Fearless back on the roster, and instead of Gamsu on the Wrecking Ball, it is going to be Void. So let's see how they pilot this composition. For now, London Spitfire are going to be very grouped up. Bionade connects on the 4 members, and that is the go button. They just press in, and Fleta claims 3 for himself. 70% of the way towards that barrage. No one else even close.
The Mei Widowmaker composition seems a little bit anti-synergistic at first when you think about it, but the Mei can help heal quite a bit for the Widowmaker, and the Widowmaker at long range can chip away at heroes that are, making that slow peek around. I don't think they expect to see the Pharah. After, this happens, he's swapped over for a moment to the Tracer Glister did, and now is onto the McCree. So it's a much better, more well-rounded composition they're running now.
Well, he is already dropping down right up into their faces. The barrage not going to be well placed enough to lead to multiple kills, but although already gets picked off, run over by Void. Lemon just going to be keeping himself safe, has Luffy there to back him up.
Luffy,
that Mercy in the sky.
Important to note, Luffy was, back in the day, Mercy was a flex support. It was one of his stronger heroes, actually, back in the old days of Pharah. So this is actually a position he's very comfortable with. So this may be why they're running this, because Lee Jae-gun is sick, or perhaps they're preparing it all along. We'll never know, but he's doing a great job so far.
That he is, although under fire again, trying to get the freeze here. Bionade comes through. He'll go ahead and ice block that one off, so keeps himself safe and healable for the moment. Fearless going to be leaping around. That's going to be the nano boost investment here onto the Winston. Primal Rage getting ready to expire, but not before he can clean up multiple kills. And again, it's just looking like the London Spitfire do not have legs to stand on in this third and final round of Busan. 65% already accrued for the Shanghai Dragons. Another barrage is there. They have the infra site. They have the minefield. They can create so much space.
Has the sound barrier coming up soon, and he will be able to get that, before 100% minus, if he got picked off or something like that. But that's their only real chance here, is to outlast. The barrage can change everything if it is not avoided. He's got a great position to use it too.
Yeah, he's just threatening them here. See, Sanguinar nearly takes him down. Had he gotten that second rocket connection around the corner, it would have been Lucio gone, and no sound barrier for the fight. The Deadeye will come out from Glister. The barrage is up over the top, and he takes him down. Poetic Justice in the barrage is the one getting rid of the McCree ultimate. Now Bernard sniped by DM. The sound barrier shielding has already gone ahead and expired, taken away from them. Highly trying to survive, but just cannot do so, and the OT will go ahead and tick down here as they string one after the other onto the point. Glister swaps to the Soldier 76, but to no avail. It is not fast enough. and that is going to be map number 1 going to Shanghai Dragons. Round 2 looking good. Thought maybe Spitfire was going to be able to come back in, have at least a competitive round 3, but Shanghai just, in 1 and 3, they just shut them down completely.
I mean, the irony of the barrage there, or rather the irony of the Deadeye, is that was the easiest way for Fleta to actually guarantee that he was going to die, because all Fleta had to do was go behind him, and he didn't know exactly where Fleta was, and Fleta was just able to instantly get that barrage kill, and then set up for everything else that they planned to do afterwards. A lot of people are probably wondering why suddenly the Pharah. Is it just because they've got Luffy in? Is it because, DM and Fleta have probably been practicing that Widow Pharah synergy? I think the main reason is because there's no Diva. There's no Diva to protect the McCree there. There's no Diva to protect those approaching members that were trying to get back on the point. And a Diva-less comp is always going to struggle against that. And unfortunately, they just could not get Glister in position to knock Fleta out of the sky.
Yeah, I mean, Widow, Pharah, these are going to excel in a Diva-less hero pool. So I'm looking forward to more of this play from Fleta, from DM. We'll see if there's going to be any swap-ups on either team when we get ready to come back from the break. So stay tuned, guys. Map 2 coming at you in just a few.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. And by Zip Chair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League. Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are just one map into our first series of the day between the Shanghai Dragons and the London Spitfire. Shanghai looking very dominant, as we might have anticipated coming into this series. Rounds 1 and 3 to close out Busan, 100% 2-0. London Spitfire, now it's time to bounce back, try and recover from that staggering loss. Looked good in round 2, but now they need to translate that into map number 2 and try to pick up a victory.
I mean, it felt like it was one-sided in a lot of aspects, especially the 2 rounds that Shanghai won, but it did feel almost a little bit rock, paper, scissors in terms of compositions. When they were trying to force the Ashe on Mecha Base, Shanghai looked weak as well because they couldn't find value out of that hero. Glister's positioning on the Reaper made it really tough for them to break out. I mean, May Reaper on Mecha Base with double shield is like a bread and butter composition. I felt like Shanghai wanted to prove something by not running it mirror-wise. They fell behind ult economy. You go to the Pharah comp, it was a late swap to the McCree. They didn't expect to see that, and then later on, obviously, ended up really struggling to get in there. It didn't have the proper ultimates required. They didn't have a Diva, so getting a little bit blindsided by that. I think when we have the series further develop, I think that we're going to see closer games. I don't think London Spitfire is going to get as countered. I don't think Shanghai will get as countered, for example, by or counter themselves, whatever you want to say. They're going to be trying to put the the square Ash into the round mecha base. If I could say that. So I think we'll see like the series normalize a little better. London Spitfire not looking lost at all. I feel otherwise though. I mean the coordination looks good, and I feel like this team is getting better from week to week.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be staggering differences as they continue to advance and play together more. There are, obviously you and I had some contention with other people at the start of the season when everyone said that they were just, this group of rookies and whatnot. Like, no, actually, hold on, pump your brakes a little bit. Like the players in the London Spitfire for the most part are all pretty seasoned as far as, Tier 2 is concerned, and they have, stage presence and whatnot. So, but yeah, I mean, this stuff, them coming together for the first time and playing in such a big tournament, it is going to take time. Look at how long it took for, a team like the Washington Justice to really find their stride in, last season in 2019. It took pretty much the entire season for that to happen. Ideally for Spitfire, that is not going to be the case, and they can get things together here, in the next couple weeks and then really make a deep run for the June tournament. Time will tell, and we have to just kind of wait and see and just keep an eye on their growth. But we are ready to go ahead and jump into our second map in this series, and it is going to be King's Row for Hybrid.
Yeah, I mean, King's Row, a map where, this map couldn't be more solved, I feel like. And with no Sombra in the picture, I think we're going to see a ton of Double Shield, Reaper May, and especially when you get off of A, like you just can't really run anything else. You try to run the Tracer, and you're really going to struggle. I mean, Dallas Fuel has proven otherwise. We have seen a few teams force the Tracer to great success, Dallas being the first one to do that, way back now, like a month and a half ago or so. But right now for London Spitfire, they're showing us the Ashe May, so having that extra line of sight. Perhaps expecting more Pharah play that it's going to be difficult to deal with without a Diva. But, I mean, it's a safe composition they're running, but it's not as safe as I think the Reaper would be in a lot of cases. But they're clearly prepped to run this, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, yeah, worth noting, of course, that Lip is currently in.
Yes.
He's the one hovering that. Pharah now going to be swapping over onto the Widowmaker, likely for that initial shot. We'll see if they want to stick with a double sniper, or if it is just going to be for that opening volley. Okay. Already getting a bit more interesting. Lip going to be spotting out the barriers, gets that headshot tag on the J-Mac, but cannot follow up with a second shot, so he'll drop back, swap over onto the Tracer, and we're just going to be going for dive, accompanied by that Zarya, to have those bubbles to throw Fleta into the back line and keep him safe.
Yeah, he's hitting right now, and he's just going to look for the Ashe kill here onto Glister.
Oh, you can see Glister was pretty ready for that. Chunks him down significantly off the bat, but already 1.5 ticks going to be surrendered. Shanghai Dragons just go ahead and scoop that up, and Sanguinar just cannot get out of there in time. Gets taken down. Fleta going to be receiving some orbs to the head there from Hylie, so it does get rid of the Genji, further delaying any type of Dragon Blade build up here, but he does have that faster run back. He's got the dash, so he can rejoin the team rather quickly, but it seems like this is going to have to be a retreat call here, as it's just the support still playing
J-Mac's barrier placement there was actually, I mean, it's a pretty obvious barrier, but it was placed in such a way that, Izayaki could neither heal his allies nor purple the London Spitfire players there, even though he had a nice angle otherwise. So that barrier ended up being pretty huge there, because otherwise they might have won that war of attrition. But it isn't getting a ton done here. He's looking for picks. He's not looking for Dragon Blade build. He's not being pocketed a lot. And I don't know if this is going to work out in the long run versus Double Shield. I think you're going to need that ultimate. He's not even halfway there.
He needs to get up close and personal. He's trying for it. The right click. Straight shot just kind of happening to find Hylie there as Fearless cleaves his way through Glister and Sanguinar. Fleta will go ahead and find a final tag on the back end onto J-Mac. They'll get the finish here onto Aldo, and they have broken through. So all in all, not that much time lost. They will go ahead and start the Streets phase with just shy of 5 minutes. Now it's all about stability from London, and can they get the heck out of the tube?
They can't get out of here.
They can't get out of the tube.
They can't get out of the tube. King's Row is a series of tubes, I think, famous quote. No. Bled is about to have Dragon Blade, actually, from that. He got a ton of ult percentage from the Swift Strikes, so I thought he was going to swap.
Yeah, 3 kills on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, he ends up just going straight up to Dragon Blade. He's not going to have a nano boost, but he's going to have a Zarya bubble and potentially, a little bit of extra Luffy healing. So I think go for it. At least force the trance out of this.
Yeah, maybe try to open things with the Pulse Bomb and then go in for the Grav Blade. We'll see exactly what they want to do. Void's still, 20% away from having that Graviton Surge online, so the big carrying ultimate is lacking.
Yeah,
Spitfire have a ton to work with here, though. 5 ultimates ready to go, the Blizzard being one of them. Unfortunately, unable to use that in the choke, given the stagger kills. But nearly gets taken down. The Bionade takes down Bernard. Blizzard will find a headshot, getting rid of Lip, making sure that you cannot see that Pulse Bomb come out in the fight.
Ooh, this is all falling apart.
Shanghai peeling back to the cart.
Yeah, they used Valkyrie there. So the plan was for Lip to try to assassinate either Glister or Hylie, and you guys probably didn't see it right away. Nice kill here. It's going to be another stagger. You guys probably couldn't see that he was hiding on the edge there, but he actually was looking for that Pulse Bomb kill and just got flashbanged by Glister. So that happens sometimes when the McCree's really ready for the Tracer flank. As soon as he died, Fleta didn't want to commit anymore. He was getting, iced to the face by Aldo, and the Valkyrie gets wasted. It all fell apart. They still have a Grav Blade combo, and they're going to have a Nano Blade here too, but Spitfire have 6 ults, so it's going to be a crazy fight. And that one missed.
Okay. That's a really big whiff on a Graviton Surge, trying to lob that one in, clipped onto the rooftop there on the corners. It does not make it over in front of point B, so a major loss now for the side of the Shanghai Dragons. How do they try to engineer a turnaround now? Pulse Bomb comes out, the Dragon Blade will come through. Immortality Field already cleaned up, but you can see the window coming out, the Transcendence, keeping everybody alive for a little bit longer, but now the Bionade sacked in on top of from Izayaki. The cleanup can happen. Fleta dashes his way through to 2 kills, looks for another one. Flashbang will come out and Glister will finish him off. But it's a bittersweet moment as Lip is there to find some swift revenge. Shanghai Dragons on that play will be able to push through here onto point B, but with just 4 minutes remaining in the time bank for the hardest stage of this map.
Yeah, I mean, very much sloppy execution from Shanghai, but Izayaki's Bio Grenade is, as pointed out, the real turning point because no one can heal in that crazy fight where Fleta is able to get a bunch of dash resets, but it was a very rough start to that fight, and it looked like London was going to take it without that bio during the trance. Lip swapping over to this Widowmaker because he has a lot of line of sight right now after that one team fight, and he might even be able to get onto that high ground right above the point if he's lucky. Glister's going to match. It's all about that high ground control right now. You can see he's looking to see. Yeah, Lip,
he knows where it is now.
Yeah, he knows now for sure.
It's all the shop. It's a matter of trying to get into a position where he can actually take control. You can see he's going to be wrapping back around through the spawn to try to get to the right side. Lip pushing up onto the high ground should be able to match him, but already Shanghai Dragons, they just push through. No one can make their way. We're so busy taking a look at the Widowmakers that the cart just rolls in with 3 minutes and 3 seconds remaining. So London just giving a bit too much room over to the Widow play there, and they just don't push out towards the cart. They just can't do it.
Yeah, I think that right now Shanghai Dragons are just winning a war of mentality almost in terms of what they're running, because London Spitfire, they already knew, okay, we've got to swap over to Widow to try to counter their Widow, but he's got high ground, and you could feel like the tension in Glister's movements every time he tried to. He grappled like out of spawn because he's like, oh, I'm just going to die instantly. And then the team had to play around the fact that there was just no Widow pressure from Spitfire to repel Lip. And they lost the tank war, the neutral war, ultimately on the point, and then the cart just rolls through. Like, look at this. Like, Fearless is the only one here, but look how everyone's hiding from Lip's line of sight. Look at how far behind they are. Yeah. Like, Hylie's over here, Bernard's trying to use his shield, it keeps getting broken, and then JMac just, feebly tries to touch the point because, like, oh god, we've just lost a tank war from Widowmaker alone. That's the power of sightline advantage right there.
Yeah. Very, very well demonstrated by Shanghai Dragons. Now London Spitfire, with a bit of egg on their face, have to try and turn this around and have a dominant attack. They cannot afford to flounder on point A. They need to get that lockdown quickly and break through the initial archway. If they get caught up there in the choke, then it's going to be very costly for them as far as the time bank, and maybe even prevent them from finishing the map. Glister's going to swap over onto the Widowmaker. He's looking for a target, but sees that barrier there.
Void's barrier is too well placed.
Already highly going to be eliminated by Fleta. Continues to play forward here.
London is caught in a really bad spot.
Okay, he's dashed down the staircase and is just building up free ult charge against JMac. Will help take him down with the assistance of Luffy.
The problem is there wasn't any peel, unfortunately, to deal with Fleta. So, I mean, Glister would try to get that headshot kill, then he swapped over to Ash, but he couldn't rejoin his team, so the team was essentially cut in half when the Spitfire was, and then just mowed down. Fled's gonna have a pulse bomb soon too, which means they need to stick together even more than before. I'm surprised we don't see McCree here coming out of London to try to help repel that. Just gonna look for the Ashe headshots here and the additional barrier break. But
trying for it. Dynamite not going to get triggered there, so Void will not be burning down. Just continues to play around the statue as Lip is up here on the high ground. A lot of damage there onto Hiley. The assistance of that Discord orb, but so far not leading to any kills. Is building up nicely towards that Bob, however, as Fleta continues to play around the staircase. Has that pulse bomb ready to go. If everybody stays clustered up on the staircase in the choke, this could be very dangerous for them. Pokes back down around the corner. Waits for his opportunity to strike. Finds Aldo, gets a couple headshots in, forces him back.
What is it?
Continue to duke this out. It's going to be the cleanup here on the supports. The rest of Shanghai Dragons just keeping things stable.
I mean, Aldo just got... Fleta ran like 6 circles around him in record time. He couldn't find anything. Fleta was using his clips around those sightlines around the corners better. Aldo was wasting a lot of his shots, so it was a dominant duel where Fleta was pressuring the support line while also just dealing with the enemy Tracer at the same time. It just feels like a mechanical outclassing is what we're watching here from the Shanghai Dragons. The London Spitfire just can't keep up. And Lip is even rotating behind them oftentimes, and they're just not able to deal with that pressure of the Tracer and the Ashe. And it's an Ashe. Oh, that's a kill right there, but it's an Ashe battle they're losing, which further makes me feel like Glister should swap to McCree here to help deal with Fleta's harassment, so they can make one strong push with Trance to the point. But they're just so focused on winning this duel that, frankly, I don't know if Glister can win against Lip right now. Not with line of sight disadvantage, I mean, it's rough.
It's looking very poor for them. Really nice 1-2 punch there. Get that kill onto Aldo as well. Pulse Bomb going to be lobbed in, but actually the Kinetic Grasp will take that one away. They had the Immortality Field up as well, just in case. So we're prepared, but a nice little bonus for Bernard to get that extra shielding coming through.
Nice check there from Bernard to also identify, where Fleta is. Has a pulse here, but his blinks are a bit questionable. He's trying to find the perfect angle.
Oh, lobs it over top of him. Instead of just going for the shots, he was already so low, he thought for sure that he would have just gone ahead with the primary fire to take down Luffy. Instead tries to get the pulse bomb stick, and it just nets them nothing. Void blocking out these boulders with his own barriers, falling low, but Kinetic Grasp. And he will get pulled back in, however, so will lead to his demise. But with 26 seconds remaining and nothing built up on the point, London Spitfire, they have to go all in. The Supercharger going to be placed in around the corner, the backside of the hotel as Fearless tries to stay alive. Immortality Field will come out, but Lip finds the first kill as Glister will fall. Bob, here forward on the point, trying to keep the fight going and keep things contested. Will be able to do so for now, but will this help them in the long run? A lot of damage there onto Fleta as he gets the kill on the high with the pulse bomb out. Doesn't lead to much. Lip trying to get the dynamite there onto Bernard, slowly starts chipping away at him, and he will get finished off, and no one will be able to stand onto the point. The war, the battle. Shanghai come out victorious in it yet again, and now are just going to be leading in this series 2-0. Match point now for them. London Spitfire in a position where they have to pull off a reverse sweep.
And I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. It feels like their morale is broken. Watching that moment with Aldo where you could feel the desperation, right, from that view we had, where you saw the blinks come through even though no one knew where he was. Like, he was just so desperately trying to find the perfect angle, the perfect pulse. He was like, I gotta pull somebody. I've got to do something. And then as you mentioned, the opposing Batista's at like 20% health, and then he whiffs the pulse bomb, and then the exo boots go off, and he's just like, oh god, I gotta recall. Like, such a frustrating moment where you could just feel the frustration like through his play of how it feels like their comp that they practiced really hard just isn't making a dent, and they've got to force it to work. And I think they shouldn't have. I think they should have played slower. I think they should have swapped to McCree. But that map's over now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if things keep going this way, the series will be over quite shortly as well. But we'll see what happens. There's still at least one more map to be played by the London Spitfire. Need to pick up a victory there if they want to extend this series. Otherwise, Shanghai Dragons going to be looking for a 3-0 sweep. We're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have our halftime, so stay tuned.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
It's time for our game break, Wolf, where we can go ahead, decompress, and take a look back at the previous two maps. Pretty dominant overall from the Shanghai Dragons. London Spitfire just kind of struggling to hold a candle to them right now.
Yeah, I was talking about our thoughts on like what London might do, or at least my thoughts, and I think you probably share a sentiment of like Sombra's banned, be a little bit more creative, try something. It looks like they're just sticking to what probably most of the teams in Asia are running in scrims right now. The hero pool has been announced for quite a long time by now about the new rules for the hero pools, et cetera, which you kind of talked about earlier. But also that Sombra is banned, so I'm a little bit surprised they're just running what's meta instead of coming up with their own strategy, because when you run meta versus meta and you're potentially the weakest team in your region versus the strongest team, you're going to have some issues oftentimes.
Yeah, and I think that we're kind of seeing those weaknesses come to the surface more and more as this series goes on, and it's time to polish the armor and get that strap back on for map number 3. But whether or not they're going to be able to do so is the big question, and we just kind of have to wait and see.
Yeah.
It is, however, time for our crunch time. So what do you got for me today, Wolf?
I mean, I think this one is like a little bit hard. I don't have like the sideshow NFL drawing with like the lines and everything, like Epic Pen and OBS, like woo. But I will say that I think for the rest of the series, I think London Spitfire need to first of all calm down and start playing as a unit again, because what we saw on the very first round of Busan versus what we saw there at the end of King's Row, from like really, really solid, polished play to King's Row, utter chaos, everything is falling apart. I don't know what's going on in comms. I think they need to calm down and then play the game they practice. It's too late to change now. It's too late to run that unique and interesting composition I was talking about before. You can't suddenly on the fly during this little halftime say, all right, we're going to run this other comp we've been practicing, totally change it up. You can't really do that anymore. I mean, it's tough to make a decision like that when you're down 0-2.
Sure.
And I think if they had been keeping that in mind, they probably would have done something about it before now, but either way, what I really want them to do is just to play their game, play it well, and stay focused. And I know it sounds like a really generic answer, but the real talk, guys, is that London had a very low chance of winning any maps in this series before we came into the matches today, and it feels like right now after map 2, their chance is even lower than our expectations just because of how chaotic their coordination became, or lack of coordination, I guess you could say.
Sure.
I think they just need to stay focused and make sure that they don't get too mentally boomed, as we like to say, about, okay, I'm playing against the best team in Asia, probably the best team in the world. Come at me, Philly fans. And and it's going to be hard.
Question there.
It's going to be hard to win this one, but like let's not be hopeless, right? It felt like there was almost a feeling of hopelessness in London Spitfire's play in that last attack on King's Row.
But that's where I kind of disagree with you. I mean, I agree with everything that you just finished saying, but previously, I think that this is the moment that you go for the Hail Mary. You say screw it, throw out the playbook, go to, perhaps the wild off-meta strategy that you might have been developing here in these last few weeks in anticipation of this matchup. You said it yourself, you're going up against potentially the best team in the world right now in the Overwatch League. It just looks like if you continue to run meta against them, you're just going to be met with failure. So at that point, why not just go off meta? Why not just throw it at them, see if you can find some results and, find some success there? I think that being down in this position, it's kind of either you do it and it works, or you do it and you lose. And I think that's going to be the same output. I think that's going to be the same result as if they continue to play meta against the Shanghai Dragons. So if they have a strategy, I think right now is the time to do it, because it's either going to work or they're going to go down 0-3. I think regardless of if they keep doing meta, I think that that's what's going to happen. So I say screw it, throw out the playbook, throw out the meta, and just go wild. Take a leaf out of Chengdu Hunter's book from last year and just invent your own meta, run it against people who don't know how to deal with it. I think that is the best thing that you can do.
Well, we'll have to see what they do, when we get back into that third and potentially final map. I mean, it is hard to say. There's no perfect answer here. I mean, there's a clear skill gap between these two teams, and it's hard to hear that too. If you're a London fan, you're probably thinking, but I know there's so much potential on this team. I know these players are good. The Killers Wolf told me these guys weren't rookies. What's going on? They haven't been able to find the same amount of success, and
Yeah.
It's hard when you're in that situation and you're against a top team like this, and it's been a rough season, a lot of travel, a lot of unexpected things happening to you in 2020 that no one could have foreseen. So it's not an easy time if you're a London fan, and everybody knows that. But this third map isn't going to make it any easier, I don't think.
Yeah, well, let's see what happens. That is it for our game break and for our crunch time. When we come back, we will have that third and potentially final map, so stay tuned. We'll be back with you in just a few minutes.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Alrighty, and welcome back. It is time to see if the London Spitfire can pick up a victory here in this series and extend it, or if the Shanghai Dragons will just come straight back in for the month of June and start asserting their dominance off the bat. Already have been looking extremely strong and currently lead 2-0. Now Temple of Anubis is the map that decides the fate of the London Spitfire.
Yeah, Temple of Anubis, the next map, meaning that we do have a lot of Genji potential. We already saw Fleta run it once on King's Row, and I think there's a really good chance we'll see him do it again, especially because it seems like London Spitfire aren't great at dealing with it right now. And I think the elephant in the room is Brigitte is banned from competitive play for the next 2 weeks, so Dive becomes a lot more powerful if you can execute it without D.Va. So it's tricky because you don't have D.Va. It's actually a really cool hero play. This is like my favorite one I think we've had so far, because you've got Echo out of the picture, Sombra, EMP, all the ult economy cheating that Sombra does, basically you've got that out of the picture. But then Brigitte's gone, but you don't have D.Va either, so it's like, okay, Dive is strong without Brigitte, but it's a little bit weaker without the D.Va there to help you collapse in. So I think we're going to see a lot of different takes on Dive, like what we saw Shanghai run with the Pocket, Mercy, but also Zarya for the Genji. And we are seeing perhaps a take that they have on it with the Doomfist here as well.
I mean, we're seeing look at the lineup right now for the London Spitfire. Yeah. It's just going to be changes across the board here. So we've got Babel and Shui coming through for DPS Jihun, and Kleston in the tank line. Krillin taking back, I was going to say to the stage, I guess to his seat, and is on the server alongside Fuse.
I mean, this is what you were saying.
Shanghai Dragons keeping things the same.
This is basically what you were saying is, perhaps compositionally it's not that unique, but they do have the Pharah here, but they changed it up big time. But they tried something very different. And Fuse on the Mercy. I really like Fuse's Mercy. Definitely underrated compared to his Lucio. And Shanghai Dragons are going to kind of check this out real quick and see exactly what they are running. And they'll probably swap accordingly. We know how powerful Lip is on McCree, and that might be one of their go-to hero swaps here if this first push doesn't go according to plan to help deal with that Pharah in the sky. But it's tough because the Ashe kind of counters the McCree in a lot of ways. Just kind of sitting back and getting, they're just getting pot shots at their faces right now, though, as they try to decide what to do.
Well, solid start getting the pick off there on a Fearless. So that helps him out a lot. Shui is building up nicely towards that barrage. Of course, is going to have to be cautious about a potential deflection coming in from Fleta.
Yeah, Lip is trying to pull them away from this bunker right now from behind.
Yeah, and that is going to be Krillin and Fuse get taken down here off the bat. Now Shui going to be falling as well, and I don't think that they're going to be running that far on point B. So with them just breaking through, that might just throw all of that ult charge away. We'll see if he holds on to it long enough to use the barrage. Seems like that might be the play here. I think that but in one fell swoop, Shanghai just go ahead and spill forward onto the point, and they lock that down. 5 minutes, 40 seconds starting for the advancement here onto point B, showing absolutely no mercy whatsoever towards the London Spitfire.
My feet chugged a moment when that happened, but it looked like Lip just drew their attention away right when the slam came through. Void comes through with the Wrecking Ball, just disperses everyone. They fall apart. Fleta's got a blade now, and he's going for it.
Yeah, Nano Boost is out. He's trying to climb the walls, and he dashes through to get rid of Shui. Absolutely insane from Fleta. That's going to be the only kill that he finds with a Nano Blade. But now he's going to be looking for another target. Sees Babel around that left side of the point. The first take nearly going over to the Shanghai Dragons so far, just to try and clear off these tankier members of the London Spitfire. Klesson going to be forced to take a breather. Jihan, for the moment, there was slept. Now Bionated. Barrage comes in from Shui. Manages to find Luffy, but Fleta deflects right back onto the Pharah. Manages to take him out of the sky. Jihan, however, still alive with a Wrecking Ball for the time being. Gets rid of the enemy Genji and is staying elusive. Will drop down, looks for the Mega Pack. Seems like it's not available, but it does not matter. They managed to hold them off, and crucially, it's before they can get a single tick on the point.
Fuse bought a ton of time on the Lucio, and, you know, Fuse is perhaps most famous for his environmental kills in the Korean community, and, you know, he's been around for a long time, played on MVP Space, and several teams after that before joining the London Spitfire. That's where he got his start. And his survivability, though, I think is what practically in competitive Overwatch he's best at. He did so much work buying time there.
Okay, well, Babel going to be taking himself down with the Pulse Bomb, it would seem. Maybe we'll get a replay and see what happened there. For the moment, though, Shui was the recipient of a Nano Boost just to try and build up that Dragon Blade. Came up with 2 kills, but then does get taken down by Void, but it does not matter. The rest of the London Spitfire are there to scoop the kill and finish off that Zarya, ensuring that any energy built up is now going to be expended. So, decent hold continuing here for London.
Yeah, Fleta was like trying to 1v6 there because he knew it was a reset. We feel that London Spitfire is taking it very seriously.
Yeah.
But look at the position here of Jihoon. He's actually in a nice spot to pile drive when they do cross that gap. And he can also swing around and kind of knock them into the rest of the London Spitfire and cut them in half. So I really like that Wrecking Ball positioning.
Fleta pushing forward, gets into the back line, looks for a pickoff. Jihoon, however, with a minefield, will take down Izayaki. So further delays here going to be coming through for the Shanghai Dragons, and they even have that Primal Rage committed to the fight, so that's just going to be another tool gone from them, from their arsenal now. Lip will find one, but I mean, even if the respawn wasn't right there, it's a Wrecking Ball, so he's going to be able to get into the action very quickly. Fleta with that Pulse, however, does manage to find Krillin. Now Klesson going to be eliminated as well. This is the moment here for the Shanghai Dragons to finally break through. Jihan goes in. Shui going to be stuck out of that Dragon Blade for the moment, and then does get finished off by Lip. A huge place from him to get rid of and nullify that entire Genji ultimate. Shanghai, however, still unable to tick up on the point. It is going to be further delayed for the moment. Fuse under some fire, trying to survive. Will have that sound barrier online. Bionade connects onto both of the tanks. The shield's going to be coming through now as he drops the beat, and Shui returning with the Doomfist. Takes down Fleta, and with 3 members gone, Shanghai are going to have to peel back. So it starts looking good for them there at the start, but yet again are staved off and cannot get any percentage here on point B.
Spitfire's comp too with the the Roadhog now in the mix gives them a lot of extra sustainability. And Shanghai Dragons looking like they want to make some changes here. Fearless, for a moment, swapping over to the Orisa, but does decide to go back to, at the end of the day, the Wrecking Ball here. They're going to have another Pulse Bomb. available, as well as the sound barrier. But Shui, if he gets an opening pick, they can't win this 5v6. He's even getting Nano.
Yeah, Nano goes in, and with the help of that uppercut in the primary fire, Luffy will be taken out. He is well into the back line and doesn't really have a way to get out to safety, so will be collapsed upon. So they do manage to take him out. Jihoon trying to retreat, gets that bubble crucially to help keep him alive, and now he's going to be feeding over so much ult charge for the healers.
That was really nice by Jihoon too. He was set up for the perfect minefield. He didn't need it though. They already gotten 2 kills, so he actually had the restraint to keep holding on to it. But that was a great rotation, perfectly executed right behind them. They're gonna have to use sound barrier to approach this. I think Izayaki will. Once they get close to the point.
Goes out. Yeah, it's on the main entrance here. Graviton Surge going to be used from Void. Bionate tossed in, does take down Cleston. Into the back line goes Lip with a Death Blossom. Manages to find both of the supports and is shielded up by that sound barrier. 5 members gone to the side of the London Spitfire. You can see Babel way away from the point right now. They have to try and recontest this one, but can anybody get there in time? The answer is going to be no. Babel tries to do so, but Lip takes him down. The headshot coming through, but 57 seconds is all that Shanghai finished with, so under a minute, and that's after they start with 5 minutes and 40, so fantastic time buying there on the point B defense from the London Spitfire, but now we have to see how they fare on their own attack.
Yeah, I mean, the attack that they had, the A push that got them such a huge time bank, allowed them to play for a big, essentially 6-man ult push, and I really appreciate how London, when they knew that Shanghai Dragons had the ults they needed to take the fight on the point, they kept actually fighting Shanghai Dragons off the point, fighting them in the archway, putting Shui on the Doomfist, nano boosting him so they could cut the Shanghai Dragons down, because they had a comp that could heal through a lot of the damage. If Shanghai had tried to take that fight 4v5 after, there was the 1-for-2 trade there, they would have lost for sure. And I think London was kind of feeling like, all right, if you try it and lose your ultimates, then you can never take the point, and if you just wait for 6 ults, it's going to cost you so much time with how aggressive and how far forward they were playing. It was actually really nice defense for London. At the end of the day, Shanghai does finish it, but that was a very solid defense and a really nice execution of Wrecking Ball by Jihoon. It was, he is one of the real rookies, right? He is one of those players who's kind of just now bursting into the scene, so you love to see that with a roster that's just totally a 6-man sub-in, extremely rare in the Overwatch League. But this one so far is looking clean.
Yes, it has, but now that they're on the other side, we have to see how they are going to be faring. Shui will be piloting that Genji and Fleta up in the sky with the Pharah. For the most part, going to be relatively safe. Krillin going to be one of his biggest threats that he has to worry about as long as he can stay, very well elevated here. We'll go ahead and push back. Doesn't want to take any unnecessary chip damage and give over ult charge. Looks for the tag there on to Shui. Would have taken him close to elimination.
Deflect is the counter to Pharah now.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you can deflect those rockets straight back up into the air. Have that pyro practice from TF2, the air bursts coming through.
That's a throwback.
You can see Apple falling low, still getting pressured here by the rockets. Everybody going to be piling indoors, trying to stay safe now, wrapping around that right-hand side from the defender's perspective. Barrier goes up, they try to keep it blocked. Fleta falling low, but has that mercy pocket from Luffy to keep him in the skies. Right up into his face goes Fuse, but in all of the chaos, it's going to be Krillin taken down. And with Ana being as slow as she is, basically all of Spitfire have to pull back and then re-approach together because they cannot rely on her to get there by herself.
Fleta's forcing Cleston to use his barrier like an umbrella, right? And he's placing it up, towards where Fleta is. And Fleta's got all these great angles where you get fuel back and also threaten the rest of the team. But that means on the ground, the rest of the Shanghai Dragons collapsing from multiple angles and there's just no defense. Oh, look at the stun!
Oh. Yeah, looking for the rollout. We'll still have the pile drive in. Fleta going to be slept and taken down. Cleston finds that pick, and that is going to be absolutely huge here for Spitfire, but the rest of them have to stay alive. Lip with the dynamite does manage to take down Shui, as Jihoon is just trying to, cause as much chaos as humanly possible and displace the members of the Shanghai Dragons, but they still continue to play forward. Nano boost here onto Fearless, gets stunned up, has that emergency ejection button of the Primal Rage, but does not need to use it. Luffy just floats up top and keeps him alive. Both supports you can see there through the wall. Now, under fire from Void will be eliminated. This Grill's the first one to go down. See that Flux coming through, pulls one up into the air, looks for the slam back down, and that is going to be the end of Shui here. Gets sent back into the respawn chamber. Void kites his way back over towards the point as Bob goes ahead, takes down Fuse, and it seems like Shanghai Dragons going to be able to maintain control of this point. And time is just getting less and less available for the London Spitfire.
Void's positioning and his movement throughout all of that made Sigma look like an extremely mobile hero, which we know in reality he's not. But is going to again threaten from this position where he can get his fuel back really easily by like landing on these tiers, these windows, whatever you want to call it. So he can get his fuel back there and then still be in the sky. It's actually a really nice position to go from. We're going to see the blade now as the approach. The knockback though!
The boot, the knockback from the Primal Rage that keeps Fleta safe in the air when he had fallen so low. The barrage now comes through. He gets rid of Jihun, manages to survive through the rest of the barrage, and Feelers, the Primal Rage, does go ahead and finish off Shui, and they get the res onto Lip as well. So 6 men strong are the Shanghai Dragons here on the point with 50 seconds remaining for the London Spitfire, and they have given everything that they had to that, and it netted them nothing. They nearly have another nano boost online for Krillin as he gets finished off here on the back end, but it's going to have to just be used onto Shui, and they still have this extreme stagger coming through onto Cleston.
Yeah, this is rough. It's, as you say, an extreme stagger. That was extremely late, and he just couldn't get out. There was no way out. He tried to trade a kill back, but that's all he's going to get. Look at this positioning here. And London Spitfire have to go for this desperate Zarya swap. They have to look for some sort of nano boosted high energy Zarya to just plow through the point, but I don't know. I mean, it's not impossible. It's not out of the question, but it's going to have to be executed really well. And someone has to touch. It's going to be Babel here. So he's going to come around the back just to touch this to give him that chance. Jihun's with him. It's going to be a long fight they have to win. And here's the Nano.
Yeah, Nano will go through here on a Shui, dashes in, manages to find Fearless, but Krillin going to be taken down now. Babel going to be gone as well. Fleta coming out on top, and that Tracer 1v1. Up on the high ground goes Shui, but he's got no HP, and Limpus is going to be able to tag him in the behind. Goes ahead, finishes him off. Bubble comes through to save Fuse's life for a little bit longer, but the Dynamite will burn him down. Tries to hide, but the healing is not going to be enough. They push forward. Luffy with a Mercy manages to get the final kill of the round, and that will be the full hold here on point A of Temple of Anubis. The GGs come out in the chat, and Shanghai Dragons continue to assert their dominance after winning the May Melee. They start June off with a bang and a 3-0 sweep over the London Spitfire.
Very crushing victory. Things got a little bit out of hand there in that last push for the London Spitfire. Like, they put a nano boost onto the Genji there, so Shui was trying to... He got a kill as soon as the nano boost came through, but he didn't get any follow-up. He didn't have a blade available, obviously. I think maybe playing it a little bit slower would have been the easier play, but it got a little bit chaotic when you've got Jihun trying to touch as well. There's a Tracer over there, Babel's on the point, and they're trying to do a little bit of everything in that final attack. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like London showed us some really good... Like, London showed us some really good synergy with this new roster that they put together. New roster, you know what I'm saying? The new 6-man sub that they brought in.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like, what if they started with this roster, how different good things have been. They seemed very fresh. I liked how they played overall more than the Bernard roster that we saw at the beginning of this evening. And they put a few dents in Shanghai. Like, that really long defense on Anubis B was really impressive to watch. And they didn't take a map, no, but I feel like they showed us some good Overwatch tonight.
Yeah, I mean, they were chipping away at Shanghai where they could. Unfortunately, it was just a little half-baked. They got halfway there, but then couldn't quite close it out. So, super strong defense on B. Then they flip over to the attack. They can't get to A. So there's still some kinks that need to be worked out here in order for them to find some, further success. But this was the toughest opponent that they could possibly have, and it has such a now renowned player on that lineup who is our player of the match, and that is Fleta, who just performed extremely well the whole way through, was consistently there, wasn't swapped out, and you can see why. This guy, pretty much no matter what you put him on, he's just dominant.
And his Pharah was really the X factor that London Spitfire couldn't deal with at all in the series. We'll never know if it's because they think that's the strongest way. Well, we'll not say never. We'll probably know in their next match. But I was going to say, it's impossible to tell at this exact moment in time if he was used on Pharah because they had Luffy in, who's a really good Mercy player, and they thought this is the best way to deal with the situation of being sick, or if they just think this is really strong in the meta. But, I mean, Fleta is a player that can play so many heroes at an extremely high level that when there is no diva available and Pharah is really strong on these maps we're seeing, it makes sense when you've got a strong Luffy, or a strong Mercy Luffy here, in this case, to pair with them, that you'd see so much of it. And London Spitfire were a little bit hesitant to run McCree, and I think they just kind of got bowled over by amazing positioning from Fleta all series long.
Yeah, I just didn't know how to deal with him. It was really rough for them, and then even Lip coming through, it just seemed like nothing had really changed. They were just as strong with DM as they were with Lip. So fantastic performance from the Shanghai Dragons. A great way to kick off the month of June for those guys. Can be holding their heads high as they get ready for their next match. Next week I'm sure coming up. But we're not done yet, Wolf. We of course do have another series today. And I would say that this is kind of the marquee matchup. This one, we knew that London was going to struggle a bit versus Shanghai Dragons. Maybe they even exceeded our expectations in some regards throughout this set. But now we've got the Seoul Dynasty getting ready to go up against the NYXL, who of course have made some recent additions to that roster. And we'll have to see if those are going to come to fruition on our screens here in just a little bit. So stay tuned, guys, because this is going to be a very exciting series, and you do not want to miss it.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League.
He just did the Leroy. Leroy! Spice One You see his belt buckle and says BAM.
It does. This guy's got style.
Oh, snap. So she turns her fingertips to waffles and shoot out flames? Because they look like waffles right now.
All right, do you want to give it a shot with the commentating again, Spice?
What is our hero? Oh, she just turned into somebody else. She turned to a whole waffle. She got an orb of harmony. Somebody came with like a guitar and she just played a harmony really fast.
Boom, boom. Oh, I got stunned. Oh, but I'm back.
Man, you already know I got curly hair. I need a haircut. Need to go to the barber shop. You call it soda. I'll call it pop. Overwatch League, I appreciate y'all, man, for bringing me in with open arms, man. I feel the love. I feel the love, baby.
反手机会要来了，前期我一丝血能打死吗？能打死，扎的真严重，还带了2个人走。
Thanks, sir. 그렇게 잡으면 되는 건데. 자, 던지고 EMP. 301까지. 마블. 만들어줬어.
Alrighty, and welcome back. It is time for the marquee matchup of the day. New York Excelsior getting ready to go up against the Seoul Dynasty. Both teams, having some relative success, especially for the Seoul Dynasty in the Melee, making it to that final, but getting reverse swept by the Shanghai Dragons. I'm sure that these guys are going to be very hungry to come back in and be dominant in their first series here in the month of June. On the side of NYXL, though, Wolf, we've had some changes to the roster.
Well, we certainly have. And if we just go ahead and talk about the roster, the starting 6.
Yeah, why not? Just go straight to it.
Let's talk about this roster. We will have Haksal and Nene starting for the squad for DPS. This is like a dream come true, I think, for a lot of people for New York, as Libero is not Libero is not like a particularly specialist type player in terms of playing 1 or 2 heroes very well. He plays a lot of heroes very well, whereas Haksal is, in a meta like this, very much going to be fantastic on Genji. He's also pretty solid on the Pharah. Is he Libero level? Hard to say, but that's something they could swap to if they are running into some problems in our first map of Control. So, really like that Haksal's in on his first day. We'll see if he performs well with Nene, but you've got Nene, who's a specialist in hit scan, and Haksal, who's a specialist in projectile, together. And it feels like a fantasy that Haksal is actually on New York Excelsior. He's joined, the LW Blue side of things. No one really expected him to end up here, I don't think, until all the rumors came out and he followed like every person who's ever even thought about being involved with NYXL. And it was like pretty obvious that's where he was going. But I don't think anyone would have thought that he'd be potentially a new star face for this roster, and it's really fun to see how this is going to shape up.
Yeah, I mean, everybody on this lineup is absolutely, star-studded. Haksal, star-studded before he even joined the Overwatch League and is now alongside these players. I have to agree with you that it is really bizarre to see. It doesn't quite feel that real yet, but as time goes on and the more times that we see it, we'll get more used to it. It's like me, referring to my wife now. I keep saying girlfriend, but I'm like, wait, no, that's not how that is anymore. So it's just repetition, and then things will just normalize for us. Of course, we should talk about the rest of the players on there. So Haksal, Nene, and then, of course, we're going to be having Mono, Hotba, then, of course, Jonak and Anamo. On the other side of the coin, though, Seoul Dynasty looking to bounce back after their loss in the finals for the APAC May Melee. We'll see if their starting 6 can get it done.
Yep, their starting 6 will feature Prophet, Bits, Gesture, and Marvel. No surprise in double shield meta. And going to be Slime and Badoshan kind of rounding things out. So Slime is in for Seoul Dynasty. A huge transfer from the Vancouver Titans. A really big pickup for them. And it's hard to say whether Slime or Toby is better at the Batiste right now, but I feel like you give Slime a shot, you give him some opportunities to play the Batiste and perform with this roster. They've had a lot of time to prepare because of the break we had for the last 2 weeks. So I'm not shocked that we see Slime in here. But it doesn't mean necessarily that we're going to see Toby, or not going to see Toby for the rest of the series.
Yeah, I'm sure that we'll see him.
I think we'll see Toby.
I knew where you were going with it. Don't worry. I think that we will see Toby as well, unless Slime just completely puts the team on his back and pops off like we've never seen before, which is possible. You think back to when Runaway won their first championship in Contender Season 2. A lot of that had to do with Slime and his performance on that Lucio, sending people into the well pit. So we'll see exactly how things transpire in the series, but both lineups very scary on paper, and now it just comes down to execution and seeing who can do it better. I thought maybe we'd see Toby starting for them, but it's good to see that they are putting their faith in Slime here at the start of the series, and him going up against a former teammate as well. So it'll be really fun to see how things turn out.
Yeah, Slime versus Haksal, words tough to even leave my mouth. It's kind of crazy. Maps-wise, by the way, we're starting on Oasis, so bit of a classic control map here to begin the series, and you know, as we head into this one, I think we will see a little bit of everything. I'm most curious about the Pharah, because if we start to see more and more Pharah, it becomes even more puzzling that we didn't see Spitfire really experiment with that at all. Especially because I think Shui is a pretty fantastic Pharah player. They didn't really dabble with it at all. In Seoul Dynasty side of things, like Prophet has played an extensive amount of Pharah in the past, but you don't think of him as a god tier Pharah player the same way you look at players like Fleta. Huxall as well. Huxall was a strong Pharah player, you know, back in like 2018, but there's still questions about whether or not he should be considered a top tier Pharah now, especially with Libero on the lineup. You know, you do have to wonder if he'll be playing that at all.
You have to wonder what happened behind the scenes here for Slime to get the starting spot over Toby, because as you and I know, Toby started his dominance in the show match with Team Toby taking a victory over Team Slime, so that should have been him getting the starting position. Yeah. So maybe he, you know, Slime made a deal with Arnold or something like that, and they squeezed him in at least for map number 1. We'll see what happens. But we do have Fitz on the Reaper, Prophet on the Tracer, Huxall on the May, and Nene on the Ashe. So coming through with that hit scan speciality, and already Huxall getting his first blood on the map and on the NYXL, takes down Gesture, and that is just going to be the rest of the cleanup coming through as Huxall fills the kill feed with May, which is, you know, typically not what people want to see. You know, it's May, but it's Huxall at the same time.
You and I cast
so it's fine.
Huxall in the APAC Season 2 Super Week tournament, which is like the promotions tournament to see if Runaway can get back into Apex because they were poorly in Season 1. He played a lot of May.
Spoiler alert, they did.
That was like one of the first heroes that, you know, you and I cast Huxall on was exclusively May back then. Got a lot of experience on it.
Yeah, and the person who really brought May to the forefront was Libero. And here we go with Huxall starting over him for the moment. Bubble's going to be going out on the Jesters. He leaps onto the high ground, but the Discord Orb comes through, and he just cannot make it off that high ground quickly enough to try and escape. The Orisa hoping to pull him back into the line of fire. They take him out. Marvel keeps himself safe with that bubble, ensuring that he doesn't get frozen here, and does retreat down through the stairwell, but this is going to be NYXL maintaining control and approaching 50% as Fitz nearly gets picked off. They try to wall him out. Tries to retreat, makes it around the corner, and will be okay for the time being.
He got so zoned out, they're going to have to take some time to heal him up. Marvel's losing charge right now on the Zarya. A little bit of anti-synergy between the tank line here when New York Excelsior has the high ground. Zarya can't do too much for you.
Gesture makes it over the main wall. They're trying to deny that dive, but even with an Anubis, they just go ahead, freeze him up on the high ground with the Blizzard, perfectly timed there. And they get rid of the Scientist. The cleanup continues to follow through, but Ocean will pick off Huxall here on the back end, but that's about as good as it's going to get.
I'm feeling nostalgic about, we used to joke about Gesture's eco leaps.
That's true. He was the one who was he was the original eco leaper.
But you know, that was actually a smart leap because he had so much cleave damage that he was almost it was almost impossible that he would get frozen before getting the primal, right? But he just barely did it, like 97-98% get frozen there. He does have the primal now. This is their shot at the point.
Yeah, so many ults right now, though, for the NYXL already. We have that Supercharger thrown down. Now the bomb going to be invested as well from Nene. That might going to be bouncing around off of Gesture, who has that Primal Rage. He'll slam back down to the ground. The Primal Rage only really leads to the Bronco getting cleaned up. Now, shielding expiring. It's not a little bit too late for that sound barrier to try to keep everybody alive. Gesture and Fitz will both fall. Now the cleanup comes through as the shielding is gone. Several members on the side of NYXL falling low, but not low enough. They cannot get the kills just onto Animo. They're on the end. Otherwise, 100-0 over the Seoul Dynasty for the first round of Oasis. Yeah. So very strong statement here from the get-go for NYXL.
Well, let's see what happens if Seoul can get the control point first. Like, if Seoul got that first, it would have been tough for NYXL to get that high ground with the comp they were running, right? And then the Zarya looks like a really smart choice, and suddenly everything plays out a lot differently, and Gesture's able to jump from the high ground and threaten those choke points and get that cleave damage done, get his primal raids off, prevent them from getting onto the point. But it's really similar to what we saw in our first series of the evening on Busan, where you have a composition mismatch, they have the point first, you have to approach, and the Zarya looks really weak in those situations. It's hard to get your energy up. Gesture didn't get that primal when he jumped onto the high ground. That was a really big turning point. We're going to see the teleports out here, and it's going to be usually Ashe for Nene to swap to here. No McCree.
Sticking through with this one. So we'll just pretty much be those mirrored comps that we just saw in the first round. NYXL already going to be forced into the ice block. The barrier's not really protecting him, but we'll go ahead, throw the wall up. Cuts off Mono, but they managed to keep him alive and find Fitz at the same time. Jonak taking him down with the headshots coming through. Bionade connects on the 4, however. That's going to be the go gesture. Does get eliminated as he gets frozen, and Mono cuts him down. But a lot of damage dealt here. And Seoul Dynasty should be able to lock down this first point as they continue to look for additional stagger kills. Won't be able to find any further after Hotba, but the point is locked down in their favor, and they are on the board.
With Ocean hitting that Bionade is, I mean, essentially what guaranteed them that cap. Now, we're going to see this pulled pork composition coming out from NYXL. Papa's done this a lot so far this year, where you try to pull people from the halts. Nice bubble there to deny the hook.
Yeah, but Prophet going to be taken down as NA has swapped over onto the McCree. When he finds that headshot, Fitz barely escaping with that Wraith walk, and nearly getting flipped here. And with Jester falling, that pretty much should lead to it. The only person who would be able to extend this would be Slime, and he himself has already been eliminated. Fitz gets into the back line, manages to find Jonak. We'll find a second one as he gets rid of NYXL now. Prophet finds Nene. Suddenly, they look to turn things around and get this flip very quickly back in their favor. Prophet trying to do some serious work here on that Tracer. Jester presses forward, looks to get the zaps through onto him, take him down, tries to get the knock off the side of the map, but Hotba playing this one out perfectly, stays safe, and just keeps Gesture focused on him, so Jonah can just take him down from behind. Seoul Dynasty get the flip into their favor for at least a moment. We'll see how long it can last. Widow comes through, Pulse Bomb's out, but will just be chewed up by the Immortality Field, and NYXL continue to press back forward, escorted by Jonak with that Transcendence, and as it expires, he will find Marvel, he will find Slime, and NYXL will find the flip back through.
I would have really liked this stall that we saw from Seoul Dynasty and the extended fight, the primal from Gesture, if they had control of the point during that time. But it took them so long in the really scrappy fight to get it back that New York Excelsior was bound to 100% win the follow-up fight. And I'm also finally glad we're seeing a little bit more McCree here. You know, it's so strong against the Tracer. You have that extra poke damage. Gesture is really struggling to close the gap because he's getting Discord Orb at every turn by Jonak, and his health pool is just dwindling so quickly to NA shots.
Pressing forward, Slime Barrier comes through, and Hotba gonna get dropped. Gonna be the Death Blossom into the back, manages to find it. As that Immortality Field will be taken down, and NYXL's got nowhere to go. Seems like Seoul Dynasty should be able to win out this fight. Just have to get the clean up here as Mono drops into the pit and will fall. The flip coming back through, barely a lead here for NYXL, so still extremely winnable for the Seoul Dynasty, who are at 50%.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of close match that I expected to see between these two on Control. This is not a compositional mismatch, it's just really good ult economy on both sides. I'm loving how quickly Anamo is putting down these Immortality Fields. He's nearly saved NYXL several times. I mean, he has saved them several times, but nearly saved them in the last fight as well.
Prophet getting straight up there on top of Mono, helps take him out. Goshen's going to be finding that killing blow, Fitz with a nano boost. It's up close and personal with everybody else, and manages to get the cleanup here. So Seoul Dynasty now in the lead. As Marvel gets his Graviton Surge online, so this is just going to become harder and harder for NYXL to try to turn this one around. They do have a Transcendence to help survive, but if Badoshin gets that Bionade in, it is not going to mean anything.
Arguably more important than the Grab Surge itself is that Marvel's been able to consistently stay above 80 energy here. He's at, he was just at 90 in the last fight. He's already at 60 for right before the fight even starts. He'll get up to maximum energy super early with the grab. And then Jonak is going to have to transfer early off the point. Oh, he's just going to solo grab him!
Yeah, solo grab comes through, forces out the Transcendence away from the point, but NYXL strikes with a Death Blossom, manages to find both supports, but Ocean and Slime going to be taken down now. Marvel gone as well, and that fight is just going to go ahead and bite them in the rear. They start at 69%, now ticking up towards 100. There's not much time left here now for Seoul Dynasty. They thought they had the fight, but it is just completely shut down. Now Prophet going to be gone, additional stagger coming through.
Oh man, New York may have just stolen this game away. Huge play from NYXL. There's no D.Va, there's no Sigma, and Marvel was awake, couldn't mitigate most of that damage because he was looking for the solo kill on the Jonak, forcing his trance away. Now he's going to zone out with this Deadeye. This is going to buy you
as best as they can. Yep, tries to get the shot, will not be able to take down Marvel, but somebody's got to make their way over onto the point. They managed to get there right in the last second. Jester, however, stunned up instantly, taken down. Oddbot hooking him through, making it look easy. Now he's trying to juke it out here against Prophet's Tracer, who's forced into the recall. The hook comes through, however, the boot back does help save him for a little bit longer, but that should be it. Fitz just going to have to wait on that Death Blossom. Does not get an opportunity to use it. And NYXL will be able to take our first map of Oasis with a 2-0. Nice start for them. Seoul Dynasty coming back in for that second round, making it a lot more competitive than the first, but it's just not enough for them to get across that finish line.
No, it isn't. I mean, Seoul Dynasty had a lot of great moments throughout that first map, and they controlled things extremely well on the first round, but I felt like despite having to deal with HOXL's May and HOXL having like they were always behind in ult economy, they dealt with things really well. Gesture just not getting that primal, that was a really unfortunate timing there. And then when they were playing around the Zarya, they executed it pretty well. I feel like the one mistake they really made of both of those rounds, like the one thing we can hone in on is the solo grab on Jonak seemed smart at the time. You're going to force his trance. You can hopefully cut the team in half in that moment. But everybody jumped in on it. They almost felt like everyone simultaneously forgot about the Death Blossom all at the same time. And sometimes you feel safe to just run in like that because you're like, well, our D.Va will just deal with that. But not in this case, not when D.Va's banned.
Well,
so.
Yeah, that is missing just a little bit there. So did not have that crucial hero that could have helped them through that. But yeah, I'm inclined to agree. In theory, a good play. But I think instead you try to get everybody clumped up, force a Transcendence, and then have that Bionade on top, and then try to win the fight that way. But he saw his opportunity. He went for it, and fortunately does not pay off for them. So Seoul Dynasty will start the series off down a map. We'll see if they can equalize, however, get us tied up when we come back for map number 2. So stay tuned, guys, because it's coming at you in just a few.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile.
And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch.
And by Zip Chair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League.
Alrighty, welcome back. We are just one map into this series between the NYXL and the Seoul Dynasty. Things already heating up. A 2-0 victory on Oasis, but that second round extremely back and forth. I feel like that doesn't even really do it justice with how many flips there were in that one.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Seoul made some, like, it's hard to criticize moments like that where you make the decision to commit when it's so razor thin, it's so close, but when you do zoom out and you do rewind the tape, you could say, well, maybe it wasn't the best choice there to commit in for so long when they had the point controlled because we could have just regrouped and come in as 6. Gesture committed Primal and got discorded. We haven't really talked that much about Jonak in this series so far, but his discords on Gesture have been there constantly. Every time, Gesture shows his face, he's discorded. And when Nene is playing McCree and chipping away at that health pool, if you don't have a Primal and you're playing on a wide open map, there's no Diva, you're going to lose your health very quickly. So I feel like Gesture has to play a little bit more conservatively with the Winston in situations like that, especially when it's Jonak not only discording you, but then also hitting those shots himself at range.
Yeah, he's hitting you in the head. You've got Nene there with the McCree. You've got Hoxel who's freezing you so you can't even, leap away. So yeah, some more conservative play would definitely be a good thing for Gesture to exercise. So we'll see if he can put that together for us as we go into our second map, which is of course going to be Hollywood for Hybrid. And again, see if Seoul Dynasty can lead the way to a tied up series. Coming back in after being in the grand final of the APAC May Melee and losing would not be great, especially in a 0-3 capacity. So they want to turn this one around, and they're showing us something that we haven't seen in a while, and that is Bastion right now from Prophet.
Yeah, Prophet Bastion. That's a pretty big throwback there. I don't know if the NYXL know about this strategy. It's our first time seeing Hollywood on this patch and on this hero pool, but I think there's a lot of ways to counter this right now, but it's definitely not going to be May-based, right? So that's going to already throw a wrench into NYXL's gears once they see this. And look at the positioning of Fitz, too. He's going to put Dynamite. He's going to see where they are right away. Actually connects.
Not bad on the Dynamite.
Yeah, 20%.
Yeah, gets multiple people here. But yeah, I mean, you're mentioning tools to try and break down this Bastion that they now are very much aware of. This could just lead to Hoxel swapping over onto something like the Genji, get right up in his face with that deflection coming through.
That's what has to happen.
And out-pressure him. We'll see. Seems like for now they're feeling confident in the May. The wall will come up. That allows them to get across the archway, but you can see both supports still going to be hovering around the back as everybody else advances forward.
I am a little bit worried about, what happens when the bolts start to come through. If they actually get dropped off the side, they're in big trouble here. Like, if Reese gets knocked off.
That's a good pick. And they manages to find Fitz with the Dynamite. Pushing that one through. Immortality Field going to be used as Prophet. Receives the Discord Orb, and he's just going to be taken down. Jonak just goes ahead, puts this one. It takes this into his own hands. Will finish off Badoshin as well. And NYXL have broken through, so the Bastion likely going to be swapped off. Doesn't really get much. 30% on the charge, so will be the May swap here for the Seoul Dynasty for the Streets phase. And we have to see how they're going to fare here.
If you look at the ult percentage on the NYXL, you can actually see who did the majority of the damage. It was Jonak who did a ton of the damage there. His Discord Orb helped out a ton. And that pick onto Fitz just meant that there wasn't enough damage to peel, and York could just step onto the point. And then there was no angle there for Prophet's Bastion. So now New York are in a fantastic position to just roll forward here. Challenging this high ground is going to be a lot easier than challenging that bunker position we saw on A. All they had to do is kill Fitz and step on the point. And you can see that Seoul's just going to operate around the high ground near this archway with the Bob they have.
Yeah, well, Bob will get dropped in behind the cart. It's looking for a target. Immortality Field coming through. Jonak steps away from that. It's going to force out the trance here. As Fitz does manage to take down Mono before that healing can start coming through. So potential to try and turn this one around with Hoxel falling. That's a lot of their staying power gone, so it seems like Seoul Dynasty might just be able to maintain this choke now as they get the cut off here onto Anamo as well and finish him off.
This is a really cool hold as well because they didn't have to use ultimates really. I mean, they just took the fight straight to NYXL. They forced Jonak's trance, which was a little bit late. I have to go back and watch, but I think some of his healing was actually blocked by Marvel as well. So Jonak just doesn't really get a lot done with that trance. And now Seoul Dynasty still hold the high ground. They still hold the ultimates that they had previously. And New York is down in trance. So this is a huge swing in momentum. And Seoul are in a great spot here, unless Prophet dies playing.
Unless that exact thing happens. And it indeed has. So that is definitely not going to be great. Prophet going to have a very long run back, but hopefully we have a very short pause as we will see this pop up on our screen. So we'll go ahead and see what exactly is the cause and try to get things taken care of so we can go ahead and jump back into this game rather quickly.
Yeah, I'm just, I gleam any information I don't know, but I can't speculate. Chat's gone now too, so I don't know if there's anything in that. But we'll We'll let you guys know what's happening, but might be related to
We'll keep you
Prophet's death. You know, I don't know, but I think he was flanking on the lower left-hand side, and then just got picked off by Nene because his head was exposed. And you know that happens with Maze a lot when you try to go for that flank freeze or you try to go for that toss in Blizzard. He actually didn't have it yet. He was at 82%, but if he had hit just 3 right clicks after a little bit of freeze action there, he would have been able to toss the Blizzard in, and then everyone could collapse down.
Yeah.
So, I guess he just got picked there, and that was. We'll never know unless we get a replay of what exactly happened, of whether it was a headshot, stray headshot, or if he's just been tracked on his movement over there. But that opens up things a lot going into the rest of this fight, because that's one of your biggest slows and peels for controlling that high ground and that archway gone, and he was so close to a Blizzard.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty costly for them. Now they have to try and hold out as long as they possibly can without having that in the mix. They do still have a Transcendence, and obviously NYXL aren't running an Ana, so there's not going to be a Bionade to shut down that healing. So they do still have opportunities to stick on the cart. It's just a matter of not allowing Nene to get more picks like that. So everybody's got to stay together and keep their heads ducked down to make sure that he can't get those shots through. But if they can do that, buy enough time for Prophet to rejoin into the fight, maybe once we get things going again, they'll be able to have some success. We're still waiting right now to get word as far as what the difficulties that are being experienced are. So for now, we just get to go back to a classic Achilleos and Wolf podcast.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that follows us no matter what country we're commentating in, what tournament it is. It's just you and I I've had these in StarCraft, you've had these in League of Legends. Before we were a casting duo, and we joined together, and it just became this amalgamation of pauses all the time. I feel like we haven't been alone that much this season. We've had a few more pauses, so the other caster duos have experienced the pauses that you and I have had in the past, but we're not stealing all the pause glory this season, but this is one of those.
Figure we share it with everybody else.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where I'm like, of course on the first match you and I are gonna get it. So,
Well, and it is what it is. But for now, what we're going to be doing is going to a quick little break, guys, and hopefully when we come back, we'll have everything taken care of and can resume the action. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are still just figuring out everything here with the pause so we can get back into the action, but we should be significantly closer to a solution. So for now, Wolf and I will just sit here and entertain you in any way that we possibly can.
Yeah.
That doesn't break terms of service.
Yeah.
The shirt's staying on. Sorry, guys.
Unfortunately, there are some rules. It's not exactly in any way we can, but in any way we can legally and
within reason.
And not going to cost us our jobs within reason.
Yeah.
Because I
only just started going to the gym, so this is still work in progress. So I'm not ready to unveil it yet.
Yeah, I've returned to the gym as well. As the first thing I did when I got out of quarantine jail. I went to the gym in the morning to sign up, and I was going to the gym until it got banned, in Los Angeles, and then I was using resistance band. So I thought okay, I lost a little bit of gym progress while I was in LA, and then I was in 2 weeks quarantine, but I'll be okay. No, I was not okay. It's been really hard. I have a whole chart. Bren helped me make a new workout routine, which is probably the best workout routine I've ever had. Thanks to Bren for that. But I was looking at the numbers I had written down for the weights I was doing, mostly free weight stuff, and I'm I'm gonna have to drop those down a little bit. I grabbed the weights I was doing where I was thinking about, with Brent. I'm Brent's yeah, I think you could go one higher. I'm yeah, okay. This is before I went to LA back in February, early January even, and now I'm well, we're gonna have to drop those numbers down quite a bit.
Yeah. That's pretty much where I'm at. Signing up for my gym, they give you 2 free personal training sessions every single month, and I had the first one on Thursdays. I actually got married and then came back and went to the gym.
It usually goes the other way, but yeah.
Well, my personal trainer said maybe you shouldn't go to the gym. You're getting married that day, and I said no. My girlfriend will kill me if I don't go to the gym, or my wife will kill me if I don't go to the gym. So I ended up going, and just the amount of just reps that he had me do with just varying weights, one after the other, picking them up just constantly right behind me, trying to encourage me to keep going. I could not feel my arms. I woke up today, and just my entire tricep was just on fire because I slept on it. So I guess I have to sleep on my back now, or else I'm just going to be terribly sore every single morning until this heals. But it's good. It's one of those good pains to have.
It is a good pain.
It's the sign of progress.
I also feel
do I want to experience it again? No, but I'm going to.
I feel your personal trainer may have had he may have actually taken it pretty poorly that you went to the gym on the day you got married. So he was probably well, I'm gonna punish this guy. I don't know about this decision.
It could be. It could be. Eugene is he's tough, so, and he does not let you slack off there when it comes down to working out. So he's just constantly pushing you to go further and further. He's I don't care if you have to bend down and push your arms up that way. Just get those weights in the air any way that you possibly can. By the end of I don't even know how many. I want maybe the 300th rep. It was just oh God, please make this end.
I could just for some reason I imagine your gym instructor being like Lieutenant Surge from Pokemon, but he just says the Korean word for more. He's duh! Behind you, and you're I can't do it anymore. He's duh!
Yeah, that's kind of how it was. I felt I felt like Pikachu when he was facing Onyx, and it's just got just getting slapped around and couldn't really do anything until they really powered him up. So that's what we're working towards here, is me trying to get ready to go.
When you're done, your arms will look like Onyx, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I just need to make sure that I don't skip the leg day, so it's not just all in the upper body. It's properly dispersed throughout. So we'll see how things turn out. It's certainly, this is under construction. You're going to hide it behind a little drape, put a little sign out, say coming soon, and then it'll eventually be unveiled.
Well, just to go back to this pause, I think we're getting in chat saying R's in the chat. Any R's in the chat? If I'm seeing R's in the chat, I think that means we're ready. R for ready. So I think we're going back in.
Looks like we might be jumping back in. That would be nice, so we could just carry on and see. We're on the cusp of a fight right now, so we kind of have to see how this goes. Obviously, we were talking about it before the break. Prophet is currently eliminated. I can see the countdown timer coming too, so it seems like we are going to be able to jump back in. So I'm going to go over here and take a look at my monitor, and we can see how things transpire in the follow-up here. Nene going to be picked off. So eye for an eye on that one. And Prophet is going to be respawned to get the hold in. Big Gravitic Flux. And you can see the slam down comes through, and Hotba will be eliminated, and it will in fact be the Seoul Dynasty who are the ones able to clean this up despite not having Prophet there.
I am amazed they were able to do that. Not only, I mean, like, this is probably, you know, it's always controversial to talk about these pauses because, you know, nobody knows what was going to happen. We'll never know. But that pause, obviously, let's be real, like, it changed the course of the fight. I mean, Seoul Dynasty had a lot of time to figure out, like, okay, how are we going to engage on this? Halt, you know, go ahead and halt Flux. That was probably the best combo they had. It looked to me like New York wins it 100%. They still have 4 crucial ultimates, and they have the advantage for this fight, but if we have a good transfer for Doshin, I mean, Seoul could have really solidified the position for that last fight.
Well, you can hear the window coming through here from Namo. Jonak going to take down that bomb, and Gesture will fall. Now the Supercharger eliminated as well. Badoshin barely getting kept alive there through that volley, getting thrown out by Jonak, but as the down the field goes away, he as well will be eliminated. Or actually, stepped away from that one there. So cleanup coming through. NYXL looking to push the cart yet again. Just have to get the finishing blow onto Marvel, which they do. So can start advancing, but Seoul Dynasty, they chew up a decent amount of time with that defense, and they obviously still have another opportunity to contest this cart. The problem is there's a lot going on right now for NYXL. They've got that Transcendence, they have a bomb, they have a
Blizzard is the really scary part. But Ocean would love to wait for Jonak's trans to counter trans. Okay, Hoppa's flank here is getting called out hard. This is actually really rough.
Yeah, now they have him walled into the corner, and they will be able to eliminate him.
That was terrible.
It's a little bit scary there for Prophet, but he does make it into that ice block in time, and Huxwell has to retreat here onto the high ground. The Bob tossed in as well, doesn't get anything. So yeah, will just be that transfer the Blizzard coming through, and Seoul Dynasty kind of equalizing the slate.
Yeah.
They nearly have that Gravitic Flux online, so they can even force the Transcendence from Jonak by using that ultimate.
Well, I mean, this is going to be another cleanup, it looks like, here, potentially, on those members who got caught in the hall. They're actually going to be pushed back now. You can see Fitch trying to get those cleanup kills. They're still isolated, and this is just so much time being bought, and I don't think that New York can actually convert this into a team fight win, barring a huge mistake for Seoul Dynasty. Really poor execution, though, on that Blizzard from Hoxel when they got caught there. Hoppa being the most obvious flanker ever, and then the emergency Blizzard does not help. Now Jonak's dead, that means no trans.
Yeah, and Jonak's dead. They still use the Amp Matrix, and it's awkwardly around the corner. Now this is going to be that Gravitic Flux coming through. Mono getting slammed down. Does have a sliver of HP as he tries to stay alive, but it is not looking good at all for the NYXL. Squandered their ult lead that they had earlier on, and now are just struggling to try and recover from it.
I mean, they really need to group up and have a proper Blizzard fight here. And I don't know if Seoul Dynasty is going to let them have it now, because now, previously Seoul had to play back towards the towards B itself and try to wait for New York's approach. But now if they take the fight away from the point and even trade evenly, New York are going to really struggle with their respawns to actually get back to the point. And if they have to trance before they touch B, that almost guarantees they don't get it. And oh no.
Well, already another pickoff coming through. Nanamo going to be eliminated. Ocean feeling saucy, gets that headshot tag on one of the last orbs in that volley. But he'll be forced into the Transcendence, maybe a little bit earlier than they would have wanted, but still well timed as the Blizzard was out. Now it's going to be the Gravitic Flux from Hotbot looking for some picks. Prophet and Toby going to be eliminated, but here comes the turnaround. But Ocean managed to fight Nene! And there's just 2 members left, now 1. And he is nowhere near the cart. That will be the hold coming through, so they get decently close to point B, but cannot finish the map of Hollywood. Seoul Dynasty have a very real win condition now here to try and tie up this set.
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible defense after the pause. Like, we have to go back to that. Like, the pause was actually insane. Like, all of Seoul Dynasty had basically dropped off the high ground. Prophet was dead. Speaking of pauses, we're going to have another one here.
And it's Mono for it seems like Jonak having some connection issues.
Yeah, it's Mono P who drops the P in the chat, and Jonak leaves. So I think that, you know, it does kind of at least give us some hints that it might have been New York having issues in that pause. But going back to that moment, like, Prophet was dead, only Marvel's on the high ground, but they set up a beautiful halt into Gravitic Flux, and they essentially were able to win that fight with that alone. New York had a huge ult advantage, which they squandered when there was a call out on Hoppa's flank. He got in a really rough spot, and then NYXL panic blizzarded, however you want to conjugate that verb, and then New York just never had ults to stand on from that moment on, and they just kept getting picked. It felt like they didn't know how to approach the point, and every time they tried to, Badoshan was there for these flanks. And at the very end, Badoshan just like walked all the way around to the back and was just shooting on the back of the head.
Flanked and killed Nene.
Yeah.
Things got sloppy for NYXL, and as soon as that happened, they didn't know how to clean it up. They didn't know how to recover from that, and we're just constantly behind, throwing out ultimates in a very disjointed fashion. And Seoul capitalized just absolutely perfectly. So while it seems like they are, having some tech issues here at the moment, we should be back into the game in just a few to, again, see the other side of the coin and see how the Seoul Dynasty are going to be able to approach with their own attack. Defense so far is just completely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you can take a look at, if we go way back in time, the approach here that's how Fitz died, actually, at the very beginning. It was actually a flank by Nene. He killed him with dynamite. And that's a really risky position to be in if you don't have anyone spotting the wraparound. And after he's dead, they just touch the point. Like, they can put their main tank force on the point, and Seoul either has to drop off and lose the fight or stay on the high ground and lose the point. So it's a lose-lose situation from there. It looks like we're good, though, in game. I think we're
starting to get some more readies in that chat, so seems like we should be able to get things underway and see if Seoul Dynasty will be able to complete this map, or if NYXL can stave them off by having a superior defense here compared to their attack. Countdown time will be coming through, so it seems like the pause will be lifted, and we can finally resume the action here on Hollywood and see what happens, what's going to transpire, and who will be walking away victorious. Will it be NYXL moving up to match point, or will we have a non-sweep series here?
I think it's really...
I'm going to go for the latter.
I think I'm leaning towards the latter as well. I think it's really tough to full hold on this map right now with the meta that we have. You don't have a Brigida, so it's harder to, really be impervious. And there's so many different comps the attacker can run. Like, this is where, we started to coin the phrase, or at least, you and I did, and I used it a lot back in, 2018, but this is like an attacker-advantaged point, Hollywood is. It's not like Numbani, where the attackers have to go super far. It's a very close distance they go. They can run back to the spawn and change composition when they see what their opponents are running. So I think, we're really looking for, if you're NYXL, if you really want to take the win here, you're looking at that archway hold afterwards. You want to obviously deplete as much time as you can here on A, but to hope for the full hold, I think, is folly. They're going to be running this May Ashe defense. No Bastion, no craziness. Seoul is going to look to run this Zarya once again.
Yeah, with the Reaper as well, speaking of which, Fitz takes a ton of damage there as they start to go on the approach. So far, you can see the team is splitting up. A couple going to be hovering around the backside near the Mega Pack. And they will start pushing forward. Zarya Bubble goes in on a Jester as he dives onto the high ground. Mono falling low, nearly gets eliminated. The Immortality Guild keeps him alive, but look at all this cleave that Jester is getting right now. Going to be building up towards 50%. Pulled back in, but says, okay, if you want me in the cafe, I'm going to go for it. Jumps in there, drops the bubble, and helps take down Jonak. Now NYXL gone as well. A couple take-back kills do come through from NYXL, but Hoppa just cannot stay safe behind the barriers. Gesture does manage to take him down. It's a very bloody fight, and nearly that tick goes over to Seoul Dynasty, but then with that final shot, gets rid of Toby before it can come through.
That's actually super clutch. He's able to prevent that tick, because that makes things so much harder. So Gesture is playing this almost Winston Goat style that we saw NYXL popularize, ironically, as it was last year, where you bubble the Winston, he jumps up, gives Zarya a charge, and also does a ton of cleave damage. He's got a Primal Rage. It wasn't all bad for Seoul Dynasty. They didn't get a tick, they lost the fight, they lost a lot of time, but they did get that Primal Rage. Marvel in a longer fight here could definitely get the Graviton Surge. This is a winnable a winnable push if they can get that first pick with the Primal and then have that longer fight. They have the Nano Boost as well, so Gesture's practically immortal, and they're going to avoid this Immortality, so they're just going to sit that one out. And I think the re-engage here is going to be quite strong. Here we go.
Yeah, that's going to be the pull in. Get the hook on a Prophet, and Hoppa will take him down. Very nicely done. A crucial pick off the find. The Nano Boost used on the Fitz isn't leading to much of anything, not even getting that much percentage built up towards the Death Blossom. Jester in the back will manage to find Nene, but Now he's got to try to exit, try and stay alive. He's up on that high ground, and will be able to get topped off here for the moment. Pushing around the corner, they find the Reaper, the wall comes up, he's got nowhere to go, and it's just going to be an additional stagger.
Yeah, and there's so much burst in this comp too, Achilles, for NYXL, between the Discord orbs, which, you know, obviously Zion has been
They're still hunting
recently.
for Gesture.
Yeah, Gesture, look, he comes in, look at how quickly, I mean, look, he's... He actually wasn't even looking for that, I don't think, but...
He just dove in front of him.
But, like, Gesture, look, I mean, Gesture's the real story here. Look at how much, even with the bubble, how much abuse he was taking there, despite all the support he was getting. You see it again.
Well, they are trying and trying yet again. Graviton Surge does come through from Marvel, up onto the high ground. The Immortality Field helps keep them alive, and the Blizzard comes through from Haxel to go ahead and freeze him up. Mono get the headshots to take him down. Toby discorded for the moment, falling low. Haxel has the cleanup. Manages to find the elimination. And things start looking rougher and rougher. You're talking about the unlikelihood of a full hold coming through, and suddenly we've got about 50 seconds remaining.
Caster Curse and again, Seoul Dynasty here, I feel like. But I mean, look, the way that New York is doing this is pretty unique. It's a little bit different. You know, they're running this Roadhog, which is kind of countering what Gesture is trying to accomplish with this Winston. And look, he's swapped over to Orisa, but they have no time. It's an extremely slow composition. Suddenly swapping over these DPSs, changing the whole composition, doesn't give you any ultimates to work with here for Seoul.
Yeah, and now they have to peel back as the Matrix does come through. Ramo trying to gate them away from the archway here. Fitz just looking for a shot as best as he possibly can, but every time he pokes out, he is getting poked in return. Finally, will try to make his way up there onto the high ground. Prophet going to be eliminated. Ocean finds Mono, but he's not going to be enough. Hook comes through. Whole Hog going to be pulled out. Hotbot looking for a target. Not really anybody nearby, though, and somebody's got to get their way over onto the point. They will be able to force out that overtime, but Gesture falls as the OT clock starts going. Leap up over top of the main wall. Toby tries to stay alive, falls low, can't make it around the corner. Fitz arrives, gets the headshot onto Haxel, but gets pile-driven into oblivion by Mono, who returns with the Wrecking Ball. Marvel doing the same, going to be looking to outlast the members of the NYXL, buy enough time for the rest of his squad to rejoin here on the point to try to get the take. But Ocean, however, going to be dynamited down. Prophet going to be eliminated. They start ticking their way up here with a few members that they still have playing forward. Pile Driver not going to get that connection. Marvel finds one, but Mono finds another as Gesture will be eliminated. Toby still alive, nearly has that Ant Matrix ready to go, tosses it out, but they get them off the point for long enough. The full hold does in fact come through. And NYXL is going to be able to move up 2-0 in this series, a very extended map of Hollywood, especially because of the pauses. But despite their best efforts, the Seoul Dynasty on defense, they just can't get it done on the attack.
Yeah, and I mean, I got to say, like, a lot of that was just really nice focus fire from NYXL onto Gesture. They just really prevented him from getting much value on the Winston, despite being bubbled. They were able to shove him off the point numerous times. They were able to burst through oftentimes his bubble and then his primal rage. Like, the amount of extra damage Jonak is giving on the Zenyatta with that Discord Orb cannot be
huge.
Overstated. Like, it's actually insane how much damage a Roadhog does just from right-clicking. You're not even talking about hook combos or anything like that. He just is hitting Winston super hard, either at close range or at medium range with the right clicks. Then you've got tons of damage coming through from Jonak himself. And it all just falls to pieces when you've got the freeze and the slows coming through that really make it so difficult for Winston to accomplish anything. And Seoul have clearly come prepared with this really nice Winston Zarya cleave strategy, looking for primal, looking for high energy Zarya. They prepared it really well. The execution has been pretty solid, but it feels like New York has seen this too much already. They're super prepared for this, and they're just making it hard for Seoul.
They certainly are. I mean, Seoul Dynasty, at the end of the May Melee, they suffered a loss in a reverse sweep. Now are on the other side where they have to try and pull one off against an NYXL who is looking very dominant, scrappy at times, but still holding firmly and getting those victories. So will be a very tough turnaround for Seoul. We're going to go to a break, though. When we come back, we'll have halftime, and we'll break down the first two maps, so stay tuned.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by ZipChair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League.
Alrighty, and welcome back. It is time for our game break, and we can go ahead and look back at the last 2 maps. Obviously, a little bit disjointed there on Hollywood, given the pauses coming through, but now we can go ahead, decompress, and unpack everything that has occurred thus far.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a rough one for the Seoul Dynasty. Like, it's been closer than a 2-0 would like lead you to believe if you're just tuning in now. But at the same time, I feel like there have been a lot of issues on the side of the Seoul Dynasty that we probably need to address.
Yeah, I happen to agree with that one. This isn't quite one of those series where you say, oh, the scoreline doesn't tell the story because it was so close. It's not really been that way for them, and we'll go ahead and focus in on that as we dive into our favorite part of every broadcast. Wolf, it is crunch time, and let's go ahead and unpack this.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about Seoul, they're considered to be one of the strongest double shield teams in the world, especially Asia, obviously. It's Marvel, who's in with Gesture. Gesture's got a great Orisa. You would think that just trying to run that Orisa Sigma for the majority of these games, which they have run actually as well in this series, and they've found great success with it, would be the go-to. This Winston Zarya, that they must have found success with in scrims, or at least they're finding success with it, 6-stacking or something like that. It's not finding any success here, not really. You would think that maybe they're trying to keep that a secret. They haven't been scrimming it as much and trying to make sure New York doesn't know about that, right? But the execution is not perfect, and New York's reaction is very, very solid. Like the Roadhog adaptation, which is, one of Hoppa's best heroes historically as well, just on top of that, on top of things going poorly for Seoul. That's another thing going for New York. I feel like the weird, like, I don't know why I call it Zarya goats. I don't want to call it dive. Just the Zarya Winston comps that we're seeing right now are just being shut down so hard by Zenyatta and Roadhog that I think Seoul just needs to go back to the double shield that's been working. And, I mean, it's unfortunate that Seoul's success line, almost feels like a graph of like a heart rate meter for how much is this meta this week double shields. Like, it jumps up and then it's not double shields, it goes down. It feels like that sometimes, and we can't criticize their double shields all that much, but when they move away from it, they're not finding the same level of success. It's not a bad comp, it's not poorly executed, but New York has clearly practiced against this. They know exactly what to do, and they're just countering it and destroying it. So I want to see Seoul just move back to double shield a little bit for the rest of the series.
Yeah, I mean, the curveball of the Roadhog, it seems to have thrown them for a loop. They, have been kind of unable to deal with that from Hotba, so he has been crushing. People are diving in front of hooks inadvertently, and they're just capitalizing. And when you combine that with 2-star studded DPS players in Hawksall and Nene, with Jonak there to support them, constantly flicking around those orbs of harmony, and the Discord orbs especially, as you were talking about before the break, it is just making for an insurmountable mix here, it would seem, for the side of the Seoul Dynasty. So maybe they stick to the double shield as we go through the rest of this series, but it's really hard to say how much more of this series there is going to be. Some very close moments, and again, a really strong defense for them there on Hollywood to stop the cart before B, but the attacks have just been lacking so much, and they really need to come back into this for TCP and be a lot stronger if they want to extend this. Otherwise, it might just be back-to-back 3-0s.
Might be. I hope not. I think Seoul is capable than with more capable, a lot more capable than what we're seeing right now, and I hope they can bounce back. I really do.
Well, I think that pretty much everybody wants to see that, except maybe the super diehard NYXL fans. But the Seoul fans especially want to see them try and swing this one around, get that reverse sweep going. So we'll see if they're going to be able to do that. That is it for our game break and crunch time, and we'll see you guys in just a few minutes for the resuming of the games.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Alrighty, and welcome back. We are now on the other side of our halftime, which of course was brought to you by Pringles Wavy. But here we go. It's time to see if the Seoul Dynasty can turn this set around, because it's been pretty rough for them. 2-0 lead right now for the NYXL, who are looking to just go ahead and close this one out short, simple, and to the point.
Yeah, it's been one of those nights where you and I go to our half times and we do our crunch times, and we're like, it feels like we're already almost like writing the obituary of these teams that are down 0-2, and it's rough, you know? I mean, because everybody knows that you can't just run the double shield, right? And everybody knows, like, earlier, you know, it was very much one of those, okay, cool story, bro. Like, when I was like, yeah, they're just going to get their heads screwed on straight, you know? Like, But sometimes
just play the game better.
Sometimes when you look at these matchups, like last matchup, it was obviously going to be, you know, any analyst would have predicted that to be an extremely one-sided affair. You go into this series, and you didn't expect it to be one-sided, but when you see how it's going, you start to wonder, well, if Seoul's just going to keep bubbling gesture and having him, you know, throw himself onto these high grounds, like, it hasn't been working, even though in theory it's a strong composition, and the support has been there, and Gesture is a really good Winston. It hasn't been working, and, you know, we have to say, well, I don't know if they should be doing this anymore. It does not seem to be correct.
Yeah,
so that's kind of where we're at.
It's time to change it up a little bit rather than just continuing to, you know, throw yourselves at the NYXL and hope for a different result. But we are ready to go ahead and jump into what could be our third and final map, and it will be Hanamura for Assault here. So let's see how things transpired this time around.
Hanamura, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the map stats in front of me right now. Historically, has been a pretty good map for Seoul Dynasty, but the style they're playing does not work well here, like especially not work well here. You can definitely do it on Anubis, you know, where you can toss the Winston onto the bunker to position on A and, you know, get a lot of Zarya charge, and then Zarya goes onto the point. There's a lot of ways to run that, but on A of Hanamura, you really struggle to get value with the Winston diving into A, because it's just not, there's no high ground you're trying to force. Everyone can be really well spread out. Like, the point itself is very open, so everyone can back off, and then Winston isn't going to get that much cleave damage, and the bubble can be largely ignored, and you have to jump so far away from your teammates. You know, it's very different on Hanamura, and obviously they're on defense right now. We'll see what happens when they do attack, if they decide to run the Winston or not. We'll have to answer that question later, but for now, is going to be the Ashe May double shield. So I'm liking what I'm seeing so far for Seoul Dynasty. As NYXL pop out with a headshot potential, and then we might see that Wrecking Ball Winston dive here with the Genji. I think Nene will swap once he makes this attempt.
He's trying to keep it hidden for now. He's looking up towards the top. Doesn't get the shot there on the Prophet, however. Get a little bit of damage onto him, and Hotbot going to be frozen, discorded, and eliminated. So you can see this is you know, Seoul Dynasty giving NYXL a bit of a taste of their own medicine.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I need healing. And Outlaws is just unable to find anything here. It's just too risky. And Nene's committing to this Widow super hard, trying to threaten Prophet, knowing where he likes to stand, but it's not working.
Do not manage to find that accretion. Hoxall going to have to dash out to safety. Slowly gets topped back up. Looking to throw those shurikens through, but Dynamite to the face. Means that he gets taken down. Nothing really that you can do against that one when the deflection isn't there. And Mana will be finished off.
This is the Reddit comp, by the way. Like, this is the, well, I wish Genji would, players wouldn't just farm Blade. I wish we could see like some really good Genjis getting some backline kills. And that's what this does. This comp is actually designed to kill backline heroes, kill supports when the push comes through, and you're not trying to farm a Dragon Blade and then nano it. That's why Hoxall is so low ult charge right now, is because he's trying to find picks. He's not just throwing shurikens with a Mercy attached to him. He's actually trying to get kills. And it's not working, you know. Reddit would
also, you know, they want to split. They want to split this whole dynasty as best as possible here, because of the multiple dive options that they do have. So far, they just haven't been able to do it well enough. Nano Boost is invested here onto Hotbub, but so is a Discord Orb, and he will barely survive with a sliver of HP. And as you can see, Fitz will be able to take him down as we cut away. One tick almost picked up, however, for NYXL over onto the point, but given how few people are left in the fight, it will just be Mono having to roll away, and the point going to be ticking back down to 0.
I feel like this is a comp that really suits NYXL with the players they have. Then Tracer has always been more about Then Tracer's always been more about like scrappy picks than actual team fight engages. Well, see, speaking of scrappy picks.
Yeah, Marvel not really able to survive through the pressure. The bomb's going to be tossed out from Fitz. Can't quite see where he landed. Looks like, yeah, slept there at the front of the point. Now Fitz going to be taken down by Mono. Nene on the hunt, looking for a target. Will manage to find Vidoshin, who was already under fire and didn't have the opportunity to pop that Transcendence. So NYXL are able to break through, but it was looking really dire for them for a bit there.
Yeah, it was a rare caster blessing for me in this case, talking about how good Nene is with the scrappy kills, and then he pops off. Huxall's got a blade. Jonak's going to have a nano soon, but, you know, Huxall is one of the most vocal Korean players you'll ever see. If you watch his stream, you'll see even when he plays solo queue, he shares an insane amount of information. I feel like this style of dive with the Wrecking Ball and how much it's not focused on the blade itself, but just on picks is extremely good for Huxall and Nene's playstyle. I love to see how they're executing this. Now they've got the real ult push.
Minefield going to be tossed here onto the point. The freeze comes through on Mono to try to pinch him off. Bio unable to buy a little bit more time, but Fitz manages to get the kill in the end. Anubis going to be held onto here for the moment for Jonak as the shielding expires from the sound barrier. They kite their way back around towards the front. It seems like, yeah, they just have to surrender the push. So do lose out on a major support ultimate. Bionade connects onto 3, but it doesn't matter. Vidoshin just cleans up both supports, and Seoul Dynasty maintain control for now.
Nene is just going to try to do Nene things. Whoa. This is an extremely new look for New York, by the way. Playing this scrappy dive, you know...
Fitz is going to turn around eventually. There it is.
Yeah. It's not, say, Bilby on the Tracer anymore. It's not extremely calculated through the chaos. It's more about risk-taking, calculated risk as best as possible, but not the best ult fighting that we're seeing, you know? That sound barrier wasted in the last one a little bit too late, the minefield going down. I wanted to use that to set up for the blade, but now they had to hold the blade. This is a lot harder to execute this blade push, and then you lose time if it fails.
Nano out onto Huxall. Immortality Field buys a little bit of time, but it's actually going to be Jonak sniping Toby out from underneath him. The blade comes back down, cuts through Marvel. Fitz tries to turn things around, though. Finds both supports with the Pulse Bomb, but now it's just him by himself, and Huxall cleans up house. Second tick going to be coming through as Marvel tags onto the point. Gets that pile driver through, so actually denies that second tick for the moment. Marvel trying to stay alive as Profits over onto the Reaper. The Jester comes back in with the Reinhardt. They might actually be able to make this one work, and it seems increasingly likely that it will work out for them.
New York are
and they deny a second tick as well.
They're playing around, you know, these dash resets from Huxall, these one-off kills, these individual plays, right? But that doesn't work very well on Assault if you can't get a 5K, right? If you get 2 or 3, that's not enough. The spawns are going to come through, your comp starts to lose power after your ults expire. And they're staying with this dive, but I don't know about this.
Oh, man. Marvel just kind of flicking to the side, getting lucky. That shotgun blast does manage to take down Mono, and again, big ups to the Discord Orb being tossed out here from Vidoshin, who's making a lot of these kills possible. Jonak on the Moira going to be taken down as well in the hallway as Marvel just continues to hold the door. Hook not going to connect, but they still hold them back.
The Torb is such a great counter to this. I mean, he really is. He's survivable himself. Prophet's been a great Torbjorn all year long, and the turret's going to make it so difficult to dive and stick around with any consistency. Huxall has another Dragon Blade, but now there's a trance ready. Now the Torbjorn's set up. They've even got this. Oh, the hook!
It's always the Tracer inadvertently as they try to get the Winston. Oh,
like,
boy.
If you look at the ults New York has, if you covered up Solo's composition, you might think, oh man, this is pretty unstoppable, but in practice, it's going to be very difficult to execute this. Already Deflect is on cooldown. They've got one more push. I think they want to use the Coalescence to get onto the high ground and have Huxall do that dash into the sky, the drop down onto the supports. They need to get the Immortality Field deleted ASAP.
Pile driver through, Minefield up onto the high ground. Stick comes in from Fitz, gets a bit of damage through, but the sound barrier is out, but he still manages to get rid of Huxall in the middle of the blade. Cuts him down. Turret going to be deleted as Nene looks for a target. He is trying to take down Fitz, now swaps over onto Marvel. Pulse Bomb comes through, gets a little bit of damage, but Marvel takes a breather. He's going to stay safe, and Prophet gets rid of Jonak. Primal Rage rolling at the moment here for Hoppa with an Anubis as he goes up onto the high ground, but one after the other, the members of NYXL are getting taken down, and there's just 15 seconds remaining. A pickoff here onto Anamo would be catastrophic for them as they need him to loop back around to get a tag onto the point.
I guess the composition lost value over time. Seoul Dynasty slowly adapted. New York are going to have to try to touch here, but I don't even know if that's possible.
Yep, they barely managed to get it. But makes his way through, almost costs him his life for that one. That's going to be the Molten Core coming through from Profit. Trying to keep everybody zoned off the point. You can see Hoxel touching the ground there for a moment, nearly falls, and Fitz manages to scoop up the kill on the backhand. 3 members now gone for NYXL. Jonak falling as well means no supports available. A Discord Orb out onto Nene. Mana rolling down, trying to get that health pack, trying to get back to the point, but he cannot do so. Whole Hog gates him off, and that will be at 66.1% on point B for NYXL. So again, another position where Seoul Dynasty have a win condition, a very clearly set one for themselves.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of can they get there this time.
I mean, New York, this is, like I was saying before, it's a completely different look for New York Excelsior. They've always been a team that's very much extremely calculated, slow playing. That's why they did so well in GOATs. They're very methodical. They don't play around the chaos. They're very well practiced on small things, little things. We're going to look at this Marvel moment again. And I just have to say, like, putting Hoxel on this roster definitely throws a wrench in all that. I think he adds a lot to this team. He gives them more, you know, explosive power. He gives them the ability to play dive a lot better than I think Libero does on paper. You know, Libero is the Genji player, or was rather, I should say, the Genji player for the squad before Hoxel joined. And we know Hoxel's the better Genji, right? Libero has better qualities as well. Like, there's strengths and weaknesses of both flex projectile players. But NYXL, it's like you draw a circle on a piece of paper and you go to cut it out. You know, just because the circle is drawn with a compass doesn't mean the circle that you cut doesn't come out with jagged edges. Like New York Excelsior, on paper you're like, oh, it's Hoxel, and then it's perfect Tracer Genji. Look at the ults they have, but it's a little bit jagged around the edges. It's not perfect yet, you know? Even though the strategy, like, on paper looks perfect, the execution isn't there yet. And Seoul Dynasty has a real chance to bring the series back now because of how this Hanamura map started.
I always love your analogies. When they go a little wild, and I'm not exactly sure where it's heading until you finish talking. All together coming through. Does force on the ice block there from Hoxel. He's just going to be playing up into the choke. Profit. Getting chunked out, nearly picked off. Barely survives, but desperately is in need of some healing. Still
like
has received none. I'm like watching Profit's HP bar here.
Yeah.
He finally picks up a health pack, I believe. There's a couple nades come through from Toby to keep him alive. Immortality Field is going to be used here by the Seoul Dynasty. Hotbot finishes that one off, and as soon as it's gone, Badoshin does get eliminated. Wrapped around the backside, Profit puts up that wall to keep himself safe.
This is pretty.
Stun comes through here onto Hotbot, but this is so disjointed right now from Seoul. Marvel going to be killed off by the accretion, and I'm losing it. I don't know what's happening anymore.
Well, unfortunately, Profit here, I think, might not be long for this world either. He does get away, but Fitz, he gets away because Fitz is not going to get away, I don't think. Okay, they're actually collapsing in. Like, I can't believe everyone's alive.
Yeah, Immortality Field keeps them up. They get halted together. They finish off Anamo's Immortality Field. Theirs just going to be expiring naturally. Profit throws up the wall. As they try to get around the back, goes into the ice block here. Slowly topped up, but he doesn't have a Blizzard ready to kill. He's still going to be alive, however. Jonak falling low, has the Discord Orb here, but the kills very much come through in the way for NYXL. A single tick going to be picked up by Marvel alone on the point. So at least snatches out from underneath of NYXL, but otherwise, just such a wild fight. Very much all over the place.
They got the Trance, they got the Blizzard, so this next fight is really good for Seoul. But their ability, I mean, Fitz is out there, man. Like, the only way that could have gone crazier if they just eventually leapfrogged to B and suddenly were having a team fight on B, but Seoul regrouped. It took them so long to do so, and then they were just killed by a Flux. But now, they had the massive ult advantage here. They still have a decent amount of time, so if they can make this push work, they've got a real argument for that time bank being strong enough for them to take B, bring this series back. This is a really crucial moment for Seoul Dynasty. This ult advantage they have right now with Trance coming online and the Blizzard.
Flux comes out first. Maywall going to be denying the bomb from getting into the back line and operating like a battering ramp. So we'll just be stopped up there at the front. Hoxel collapse on top of this, be taken down by Marvel, and now Badoshin just going to be getting rid of that bomb. One less thing to worry about as Jonak is around the backside, poking away at Marvel where possible. Marvel, he's collapsed on from both sides. He just can't stay safe. Does get cut down. Now Badoshin going to be gone before he can use the Transcendence. And Providence still commits the Blizzard to the fight. He gets eliminated by Mono, and suddenly everything is just catastrophic for the Seoul Dynasty. They still have 3 ultimates to work with here, but the Blizzard was one of the biggest tools.
There's been a lot of debate about Prophet recently, you know, about whether or not he should still hold that title of, you know, greatest of all time in Overwatch. You know, he was being discussed in that role for so long, for 2 years. Is this the greatest player, the individual player, the greatest flex? But his ults this year, especially the last few weeks, not perfect. That was not one of the good ones.
Dragon Strike going to be rolling through. They're trying to get the catch there onto Mono, and he will be taken down by Jester as he pushes around the corner. Jester himself barely staying alive. The Immortality Field keeps him in the fight for a little bit longer. Fitz tries to get around the barrier here of Hotba. We'll just be popping that kinetic draft to try and stay alive. Badoshin for the pickoff, throws those orbs around the side, gets a dink onto Jonek, nearly takes him down. Now Badoshin's going to be pushing up with that Transcendence rolling to keep everybody topped up. Jonek now going to be matching on the back end. The wall comes up, keeps him zoned back away from the point for the moment, but Hotba with the Gravitic Flux manages to get rid of Fitz. Now Marvel going to be gone. 3 members down are the Seoul Dynasty, Toby and Prophet, the only 2 now remaining. The ice block, it expires. Hotba finds the kills and OT bleeds away, and that is going to be it yet again. There's a repetition of what we saw on Hollywood, a full hold coming in after Seoul Dynasty stave off NYXL on a point B, but they just cannot progress on their own attacks. They get 2 ticks here on point A, but that's it, and the series goes to NYXL.
Yeah, I mean, there were some disjointed fights that Seoul had to take, not because they made some mistakes, but because New York cut them in half a lot of the time. And then you saw Prophet there in that critical, pivotal moment that I was talking about, where they had that Blizzard, they had the huge ult advantages, and they were down 2 members when Prophet threw the Blizzard as he was dying, which then essentially meant it was a 6v3 New York versus Seoul while the Blizzard went down. And Prophet's one of my favorite players of all time. You and I cast him playing Genji for the first time and becoming the APAC Season 4 Finals MVP. He's been extremely talented. It feels like almost single-handedly won London, the inaugural season grand finals. Even though his team was performing poorly last year, he looked to be the shining star and what was an otherwise dark London Spitfire last year. But this year, the Echo, we have to criticize it a lot. Now we're seeing some issues on the May. And this is not the same Prophet that we elevated as greatest of all time. And I mean, and he's arguably on a stronger team now with this roster on Seoul Dynasty, but something is missing. I don't want to point this whole series on this one failed Blizzard by Prophet, by the way. Like, please don't misunderstand me, but it's these little things I think that the Seoul fans will remember most about this series, because it was so otherwise close. There were a lot of moments that Seoul had advantages in. They had great defense. And it's these little moments you're going to remember, you're going to be frustrated by if you're a Seoul fan. It's like, why did Prophet Blizzard there? Like, that's going to be the part that you remember.
Yeah, I'm really unfortunate, but for the NYXL fans and everybody else who's watching this with no horse in the race, plenty of good memories to come through. We got to see Hoxel here for the first time playing with the NYXL, bringing out his Genji, excelling on that from time to time, but somebody who was also extremely consistent throughout and is our player of the match presented by Xfinity is Hotba, who was just crushing it with the Roadhog pretty much the entire time.
And his ability to play Roadhog at a really high level is what dismantled the entire dive strategy, the Zarya that we're seeing from Seoul Dynasty. Just shutting that down not only with hooks, but also with great burst damage. It was counter composition, hitting the hooks, he was hitting the right clicks when he needed to, and he made Gesture's life. He made Gesture, like, it's unplayable in this, I don't know, And Gesture's one of the best Blizzard players we have in the Overwatch League, just to have that little impact because Hopper played so well. Sigma as well had some great moments throughout the series too. Easily a player of the match pick despite Hoxall's pop-offs on the Genji.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if not Hotba, I would have gone for Jonek on this one. Just clean Zenyatta the whole way through, showing us what he became famous for in the inaugural season of the Overwatch League, how he earned that MVP slot. It's still just fantastically performed by him. The Discord Orbs on point, constantly picking up kills as well. So, that really does assist Hotba in getting a lot of those kills that he had because the Discord Orbs were often not on the same target. But, Hotba just consistent all the way through. NYXL overall can feel good. Both squads certainly need to work on their attack. Defense looking pretty clean from both of these teams, but if they can clean up that attack side of things, it'd be pretty darn good for them.
Yeah, I mean, Jonak's one of those players that, the focus was on him heavily in the inaugural season 2018. Then 2019, will he get his MVP again? He didn't, but there was a lot of focus on him because he was the MVP. And I feel like this year we've had so many rookies join the Overwatch League, so many solid Koreans and Yada players have really stepped up to the plate. So Jonak doesn't get that same focus, and New York hasn't had the same consistency this season. So people do forget about him. They don't highlight him as much. We saw him in the kill feed. You could see the Discord orbs in your UI now. So you can see what he's doing, but I'm glad you shouted it out because he has kind of, I don't want to say he's fallen off, like skill-wise, he absolutely is not. But he's not been part of the conversation as much, I think, as he should be. And he had a fantastic series. His Discord orbs are what empowered Hoppa, as you said, and why Seoul Dynasty, that's a big reason why Seoul Dynasty had such a big problem with the Winston comps they were running.
Yeah. Well, fantastically done for the NYXL, who can hold their heads high and advance into the month of June with a victory already under their belts alongside the Shanghai Dragons. But unfortunately, guys, those are the only two series that we did have for you today. So we have our two victorious teams coming up with 3-0s each. And, of course, we don't have any more APAC matches tomorrow. So for Wolf and I, we will see you next week for some continued Overwatch League action. But, of course, we do have the North American circuit going to be coming up, and I don't even know. What is it? 9 hours?
Yeah, it's a
I don't know what time it is right now.
It's a bit of a while away, but it'll be when you guys wake up, basically.
You got enough time to get a little sleep in, power nap, that kind of thing. Just a solid 7-hour power nap, perhaps. But make sure you guys have your alarms set and you go ahead, wake up and watch those matches because they are sure to be as exciting and maybe even more exciting than the ones we just had
Probably.
here. I'm not gonna promise that, but it's possible, is all I'm saying. But thank you guys for tuning in. Wolf and I will see you next week, and make sure you check out NA.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League.